Hey everyone, tonight we'll delve into one of the most foundational myths in all of Norse legends. A story you think you know, but whose truth has been buried under 1,000 years of thunder and lies. You are standing on a desolate plain of shattered ice, the air tasting of ozone and ancient frost. A storm rages above, but the lightning doesn't come from the clouds. It comes from the god standing before you, his hammer still glowing with celestial fire. This is the image of Thor we all recognize, the pillar of strength and divine justice. But you probably won't want to believe what you are about to hear. That image, that power, is a magnificent deception. So, before the tension gets too high, take a moment to like the episode and subscribe. But only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Let me know where you're re-listening from and what time it is in your part of the world. I love seeing how far these stories travel. Now close your eyes, imagine the ancient mountains, and let's unravel this epic tale together. You are there in the aftermath. The battle is over. The last of the Jotnir lies motionless, a mountain of frozen flesh and fractured rock on the plains of Jotunheim. The air once filled with the roars of giants and the splintering of worlds is now settling into a profound and heavy silence. All that remains is the low hum of residual energy emanating from the god himself. Thor stands alone, his chest heaving, the thrill of combat slowly draining away, to be replaced by the familiar, weary stillness of victory. He outstretches his gauntleted hand, flexing his fingers in a gesture of command that is as natural to him as breathing. You feel the tremor in the air before you hear the sound of rushing. Tearing noise as Mjölnir, his legendary hammer, soars across the frozen expanse and slaps into his waiting palm with a deafening solid thump. It is a sound of finality. It's a sound of absolute power returning to its master. But this time, something is different. Immediately after the familiar impact, a second sound follows, so faint it is almost beneath the threshold of hearing. It is not an echo. An echo is a reflection, a decaying copy of the original noise bouncing off the jagged ice cliffs that litter the horizon. No, this is something else entirely. It is a resonant afterring, a harmonic whisper that seems to spring from within the first sound, like a ghost note played on a cosmic string. It is a pure, clear, impossibly high tone that lasts for only a second before vanishing, leaving behind an unnerving silence that feels deeper and more hollow than before. Thor freezes. His grip tightens on the hammer's shaft. He is the god of thunder. He has commanded storms, shattered mountains, and leveled armies. The sound of his power is the most intimate thing he knows, more familiar than the sound of his own voice. He has never in all his immortal existence heard this before, dismisses it, a trick of the cold, an auditory illusion born from the strange acoustics of this frozen wasteland. He has fought for days, his senses are frayed. But the feeling it left behind, it's a feeling of incompleteness, as if he has just heard a grand symphony with a crucial instrument missing. The sound of Mjölnir striking his hand was the percussive, brutal climax, but this phantom note was the melody. Its absence is now a screaming void in his perception. He turns his gaze toward a solitary spire of black ice, jutting from the plains a league away, a silent witness to his victory. With a grunt of effort, he spins on his heel, the muscles in his back and shoulders coiling like immense serpents, and hurls Mjölnir. You watch it fly, a blur of gray iron trailing crackling blue lightning. It does not spin end over end. It flies straight and true, a testament to its perfect balance and the god's unparalleled skill. The impact is apocalyptic. The spire, a monument of nature that has stood for millennia, does not just break. It vaporizes in a flash of incandescent light. A wave of force and superheated air washes over you. The roar of the thunderclap rolls across Jotunheim, shaking the very foundations of the realm. It is the sound of divine wrath, the sound of Thor. And then, as the last of the thunder recedes, he hears it again. Fainter this time, carried on the dying winds of the explosion, but unmistakable. That same ethereal, bell-like tone, a perfect, resonant frequency that has nothing to do with destruction. It sounds like a question. It's a bizarre detail, the secret song hidden within the thunder. It brings to mind the old Scandinavian folk beliefs in Skestinar, or thunderstones. For centuries, farmers would find prehistoric stone axes and flint arrowheads in their fields and believe them to be the physical remnants of lightning strikes. The very tips of the thunderbolts hurled by Thor. They would keep these stones in their homes, believing they offered protection from future storms, a piece of the god's power to ward off his own wrath. How strange that mortals would collect fragments of stone, believing them to be the essence of his power, while he, the god himself, is only now realizing that the essence of his own power might be something he has never truly understood. He looks down at Mjölnir, now resting innocently in his hand. He recalls its creation, the story known to all in Asgard. Forged by the dwarven brothers Brokkr and Sindri as the ultimate weapon. Yet, even that story holds a quirky flaw. Loki, in the guise of a persistent fly, had interfered, biting the smith Sindri's eyelid at a crucial moment, causing him to flinch. The result was Mjölnir's famously, almost comically, short handle, forcing the god of thunder to wield his devastating two-handed weapon with just one hand. It had always been seen as a minor imperfection in an otherwise perfect creation. But now, standing in the chilling silence of Jotunheim, with the ghost of a sound ringing in his soul, Thor wonders if that flaw was not just in the handle. What if the entire hammer was incomplete? But the question that remained was, if the very sound of his thunder was a lie, a partial truth, what else about the god of strength was just a story he had been told? The unease does not fade, deepens, coiling in the pit of his stomach like a cold serpent. You stand with him in that vast, silent graveyard of his own making, feeling the chill that has nothing to do with the Jotunheim frost. It is the chilling touch of a question that has taken root in the very core of his being. He looks again at Mjölnir, the weight of it in his hand, a weight he has known for centuries, suddenly feeling alien. That phantom note was not a trick of the air. It was real. And if it was real, it meant that the thunder, his thunder, was incomplete. A warrior can accept a flaw in his weapon, but he cannot accept a flaw in his own soul. He needs to know. He turns his head slowly, his gaze sweeping across the battlefield until it lands on the colossal form of the chieftain he had struck down last. A flicker of movement, a twitch of a stony finger the size of a battering ram. The giant is not yet dead. Thor begins to walk, his heavy boots crunching on ice and shattered bone. Each step is deliberate, heavy with a dread he has never known. This is not the fear of battle, of facing a stronger foe. This is a cerebral, insidious fear, the fear of a truth that could unravel him from the inside out. He stops before the fallen Jotun. The giant is a true elder of his kind, a being of living stone and primordial ice. His skin is a mosaic of granite and lichen, and his beard, caked with frozen blood and soil, looks like a landslide frozen in time. A wound, terrible and deep, mars his chest where Mjölnir struck him, but it is not from this wound he is dying. He is dying of the sheer divine force of the blow, an energy that has fractured his very life essence. The giant's eyes, like two immense cracked geodes, slowly swivel to focus on Thor. There is no hatred in them. It's not anymore. There is only a vast, ancient weariness and something else. Recognition, but a flawed, confused version of it. The giant's mouth, a cavernous split in a cliff face of a jaw, moves. A sound emerges, not a voice, but the grinding of tectonic plates. It is a whisper that shakes the ground beneath your feet. The echo. The giant rasps, his breath pluming in the frigid air like smoke from a dying fire. I heard the echo, but not the song. Thor's blood runs cold, says nothing, his face a mask of stone as hard as the giant's own. He believes this to be the final, delirious ramblings of a dying mind. You carry the toy, the giant continues, a flicker of what might be pity in his enormous eyes. His gaze drifts past Mjölnir as if it were a trinket, an irrelevance. The hammer of noise and ruin, the All-Father's great lie. Every instinct screams at Thor to finish him, to silence this blasphemy with a final crushing blow. Kay is frozen by the word lie. It connects with the disquiet in his own heart, forming a terrible nascent harmony. There is another, the giant whispers, his voice fading, forcing Thor to lean closer. The one before? The one he fears. Not the world breaker. The world shaper. Starheart hammer. The name hangs in the air, alien, and yet profoundly, terrifyingly familiar. It resonates with the phantom note, giving it a name and a substance that Thor can almost grasp. the Star-Heart Hammer. It's a classic kenning. It's a kind of metaphorical name that ancient Norse poets would use to describe a powerful object. It's calling a sword, a wound serpent, or a battle, a storm of shields, the giants. Being of an older race spoke in these deep metaphors, in truths wrapped in poetry. But this felt different. This felt literal. It cannot be wielded. By a god of war, the giant breathes, a trickle of molten rock drooling from the corner of his mouth. It does not smite. It does not shatter. It unweaves. The giant's eyes lock onto Thor's, and for a moment you see a sliver of the cosmic terror that this being understands. It could unmake you, little god, not kill you, not make you. Unravel the threads of your story until you were never born at all. As the giant speaks his last words, a bizarre phenomenon occurs. His body, the great mountain of flesh and stone, begins to lose its cohesion. It is not rotting, it is disassembling. The granite of his skin flakes away into fine dust. The ice in his veins melts not into water but into a shimmering, ethereal mist. His final breath escapes his lips, and instead of dissipating, it crystallizes instantly in the biting cold. For a single impossible moment, it forms an intricate, six-pointed flake of ice, and within its heart, you can see the faint swirling light of a distant spiral galaxy. Then, with a sound like a tiny, shattering bell, it vanishes, and the giant is gone, leaving behind only a mound of sterile dust and a profound silence. Thor stands motionless for a long time, the giant's final impossible word echoing in his mind, unweaves. It was the perfect description for the feeling that Phantom Note had given him. It wasn't a sound of destruction, it was a sound of delicate, intricate change, a power that didn't break things but rearranged them. He looks down at Mjölnir, the symbol of his identity, the source of his strength, the focus of his worship among mortals. He recalls a quirky detail the dwarves had bragged about. They had enchanted Mjölnir so that it could never be truly lost, so that it would always return to its master's hand. It was meant as a gift, a sign of their peerless craft. But now, it feels like a chain, tether, a guarantee that he could never wield anything else. The dying words of an enemy are a strange and potent poison. They carry no agenda, no hope for gain, only the raw, unfiltered truth of a mind shedding its mortal coil. But the question that now burned in Thor's mind was a terrifying one. When an enemy gives you a truth that shatters your own reality, do you dismiss it as a final madness, or do you begin to question everything you are? The journey back to Asgard is a silent, brooding passage through the cosmos. You are a shadow at his side, feeling the shift within him. The Bifrost Bridge, a shimmering rainbow of solid light, usually welcomes him with a sense of triumphant homecoming. Today it feels like the ramp to a beautifully constructed prison. The watchman Heimdall, whose gaze sees all across the 9 realms, meets him at the gate. The god's golden eyes, which miss nothing, linger on Thor for a moment longer than usual. He sees not the victorious warrior, but a man carrying a new and terrible burden. He says nothing, merely inclining his head in a gesture of solemn respect, sensing that the questions Thor now carries are not for him to answer. Asgard is a symphony of gold and light, its spires piercing the celestial sky, its halls ringing with the songs of victory and the clatter of feasting. Thor ignores it all. The sounds are hollow, a joyous lie he can no longer stomach. He walks past the great hall of Valhalla, the scent of mead and roasted boar failing to stir his senses. His path fixed on a singular, forbidden destination, Odin's private archives. These are not the public libraries of Asgard, where histories and genealogies are kept. This is the All-Father's hoard of knowledge, a vault of secrets deemed too dangerous for even the gods. It is located deep within Gladsheim, Odin's personal hall, behind a door that has no handle, no hinges, and no lock. The door is a perfect, seamless slab of polished obsidian, set into a wall of living gold. It is sealed not by mechanics, but by magic. A complex web of runes glows faintly on its surface. A blood ward tied to Odin's own life force, powered by a riddle that changes with every sunrise. To open it is to possess the mind of the All-Father himself, or to possess a power great enough to shatter his will. Thor stands before the obsidian gate. He feels the thrum of ancient, potent magic pressing against his skin. This is the intellectual heart of Odin's power, a place guarded more fiercely than his armory. Thor knows he cannot solve the riddle. His mind is a warrior's, direct and unsubtle. The giant's words echo in his memory and weaves. He looks down at Mjölnir. The first time, he considers it not as a hammer, but as a key. A tuning fork. He places the flat face of the hammer against the center of the door. He does not draw back for a swing. Instead, he closes his eyes, shuts out the golden light of Asgard, and listens. He listens for the hum of the ward, the frequency of Odin's will. He remembers the phantom note, that impossibly pure tone. He focuses his own divine energy, his will, not into a blast of power, but into a single resonant pulse, matching the pitch he heard in his soul. He channels it through Mjölnir. There is no sound of impact, no crack of thunder. For a moment, nothing happens. Then, the glowing runes on the door flicker violently, their light shifting from a regal gold to a panicked, sickly green. With a low groan, a sound like a great beast sighing in its sleep, the ward dissolves. The obsidian door does not open. It dematerializes, turning into a cloud of black smoke that drifts away into nothingness, revealing the chamber beyond. The air that billows out is stale, thick with the smell of dust, dried ink, and ozone from contained enchantments. You step with him into the forbidden dark. This is no mere library. This is a mausoleum of dangerous ideas. Scrolls hang in the air, held aloft by spells of stasis, their edges whispering forgotten prophecies. Stone tablets lean against the walls, their carved runes shifting and rearranging themselves when you try to focus on them. In the center of the room, a swirling orb of captured nebula light casts a dim spectral glow on everything. It's a place where knowledge is alive and actively hostile. This archive is the divine equivalent of the medieval grimoires mortals would later fear books said to contain the methods for summoning demons and bending reality. But where a human grimoire was a single book of shadows, this is a cosmos of them. Thor moves through the labyrinth of secrets, his senses overwhelmed. He runs his gauntlet hand along the spine of a book bound in what looks like the fossilized hide of some primordial serpent. It recoils from his touch with a dry hiss. He has no idea what to search for. Only guide he has are the words of a dead giant. Starheart. He searches for texts on forging, on weapons, on Jotunheim folklore. Nothing. The secrets here guard themselves well. Then he sees it. On a simple lectern of petrified wood, set apart from the rest of the chaos, lies a single, massive tome. It is bound not in leather or hide, but in something that looks like the bark of Yggdrasil itself. It's a great world tree. The cover is bare, holding no title. Its pages are not vellum or papyrus, but impossibly thin sheets of a dark, non-reflective metal he has never seen before. The book hums with a faint internal energy, a quiet power that feels ancient and deeply fundamental. This is the quirky, bizarre artifact of this book that feels more like a machine. As he touches it, he feels no resistance, no hostile magic. It feels receptive. He opens it. The metallic pages are covered in a dense script of archaic high-form runes, shifting and flowing like liquid mercury. They are unreadable. He closes his eyes and focuses again, not on reading, but on the question. He thinks of the phantom note. He thinks of the name Starheart. The runes on the page slow their dance. They lock into place, forming solid, comprehensible words. He has not commanded them. He's resonated with them. He finds a passage, not about a weapon, but about cosmic harmonics. It describes a principle of universal balance, of creation and destruction existing as a single, unified function. Then he finds the words that make his heart stop. The text describes Mjölnir, but it does not call it a weapon. It calls it the harmoniska damperin, the harmonic dampener. It speaks of Mjölnir being forged not as a singular marvel, but as one half of a pair. Its purpose, the text claims, was to absorb and suppress the chaotic, creative energies of its vibrational twin. It was a shield disguised as a sword, a cage disguised as a hammer. The text goes on to describe this twin, an artifact that does not project force, but manipulates the very song of existence. And it gives it a name. Vind-Hjarta, the wind heart. The giant had called it the star heart. The names were different, but the essence was the same. A hammer that controlled not thunder, but the silent winds of creation itself. He has found it. The truth, the confirmation. He reads on, his hunger for the full story now, ravenous. The passage continues, describing the source of their shared power, the forging process, and then it stops. Metallic page has been carefully, precisely torn out. The section detailing what became of Vind-Hjarta's location, its fate, its wielder is gone. Someone had been here before him, someone who knew this secret and wanted it to remain buried forever. But the question that now screamed in the silence of the forbidden archive was a dangerous one. Who in the Nine Realms possessed not only the knowledge to find this book, but the authority and audacity to censor the private records of the All-Father himself? The torn page is a declaration of war on his memory, a deliberate act of sabotage against his very identity. You feel the rage building in Thor, but it's a cold, focused fury, unlike his usual explosive temper. It's the rage of a man who has discovered the foundations of his house are not just cracked, but intentionally built on sand. Odin, the name hangs unspoken in the silent archive, the only possible culprit. But to confront the All-Father with only a partial truth and a dead giant's whisper is suicide even for his own son. He needs proof. He needs the other half of the story, the half that was physically ripped from history. The tome mentioned the forging, the dwarves, Brokkr and Sindri. If the secret began anywhere, it began in the heart of their mountain, under the clang of their hammers. Leaving the archive, he doesn't announce his departure. He moves with a stealth that is uncharacteristic for him, slipping away from Asgard's golden spires like a thief in the night. His destination is Nidvellir, the subterranean realm of the dwarves. The journey is a descent, a spiraling plunge into the geological subconscious of the cosmos. You travel with him through winding, lightless tunnels that bore through the roots of the world. The air grows thick and heavy, tasting of coal smoke, hot iron, and the deep, clean scent of billion-year-old stone. Unlike the celestial expanse between Asgard and Jotunheim, this is a claustrophobic, oppressive darkness, broken only by the angry red glow of magma rivers flowing in deep chasms below the path. The silence here is different too. It's not an absence of sound, but a deep, resonant thrum that you feel in your bones, the slow, sleeping heartbeat of the mountain. This is the true, primordial nature of the dwarves, the Dvergr of ancient legend. They are not the cheerful, stout artisans of later tales. They are the pale, maggot-like beings, said to have been born from the flesh of the primordial giant Ymir, spirits of the earth, darkness, and decay. You are entering their underworld. Thor arrives at the location of the legendary Great Forge, where Mjölnir was born. He remembers it as a place of ceaseless, chaotic industry, a cavern, so vast it had its own weather systems, where the roar of 100 bellows and the rhythmic pounding of 1,000 hammers created a symphony of creation. He expects that sound, that heat, that life. He finds only silence. The forge is dead. Its great fires are cold, leaving behind mountains of gray ash. The anvils, once ringing with celestial purpose, are shrouded in a thick coat of black dust. The channels that once flowed with molten metal are dry and cracked. The entire cavern feels like a tomb, a monument to a forgotten age. It's a chilling sight, the industrial heart of a realm utterly still. He walks toward the master anvil, the one upon which Mjölnir itself was given its final shape. It stands on a raised dais of obsidian, a block of star iron so dense it visibly warps the space around it. As he approaches, the dust on its surface begins to stir. Motes of ash and soot rise into the air, swirling, coalescing, drawn together by an unseen force. A shape begins to form in the gloom, a figure made of shadow and memory, and the lingering heat of a fire long since extinguished. It is the ghost of a dwarf. His form is translucent, his beard a cloud of smoke, his eyes two fading embers of regret. He is bound here, a spectral warden of his own failure. Thor recognizes him. It is Sindri, the master forge master. The ghost turns its sorrowful, ember eyes toward Thor. When it speaks, the voice doesn't come from its throat. The words are formed from the faint, ghostly clang of a hammer striking an anvil. A sound that echoes across the dead cavern, a memory of a sound. The son of Odin, the echo chimes, laced with an eternity of weariness. You have returned to the scene of our crime. Thor holds up Mjölnir. I seek the truth of its forging. The ghost of Sindri drifts closer, his form shimmering with a pained light. He looks not at Thor, but at the hammer in his hand. The spectral hammerfalls become softer, more mournful. You seek the truth of a lie we were commanded to build, that thing. It is our greatest work, our most profound regret. He raises a shimmering, insubstantial hand. We are smiths. Shape. We create. We take the raw heart of the cosmos and give it purpose. But the All-Father did not ask for a creation. He asked for a cage. The words strike Thor with the force of a physical blow. A cage. He had found a text describing a dampener. The giant had called Mjölnir a toy. Now its own creator called it a crime. The pieces were slotting together into a picture of terrifying clarity. He brought us a heart. The ghost's voice clangs, the sound filled with a phantom awe. Not of a star, as the bards sing. That is the lie he wove into your mind. He brought us the heart of a song, living vibration that could teach the stone of a mountain to grow, the dust of a nebula to bloom. It was the sound of creation itself, given form. The spectral dwarf shudders, his form flickering, and he commanded us to silence it, to forge a shell around it so dense, so absolute that its song could never be heard again. We forged Mjölnir. Here, in this dead forge, a bizarre detail of Mjölnir's creation comes to light, a secret only a forge master would know. To forge the lie, Sindri's echo continues. We could not quench the metal in water, for water sings its own song. We could not quench it in blood, for blood remembers. We had to invent a new substance. We ventured into the Gnang Bop, the void between worlds, and gathered the silence. We distilled it, hammered it into a liquid statan, impossible fluid that consumes all vibration, all sound, all life. We plunged the hot iron into absolute silence. 8. That is the true core of Mjolnir's power. It is not thunder. It is enforced, weaponized nothingness. As the final terrible revelation settles in the vast, dead cavern, the ghost's form begins to fray. The energy required for this confession is unmaking him. We failed, the ghost whispers, the hammerfall now barely audible. We made the cage too well. It leached the life from this forge, from our hands, from our spirits. It is a monument to a power we were forced to betray. The ghost drifts forward, its ember eyes locking with Thor's. You cannot be told. You cannot find it. The lie is too deep. You must remember the lie. With its last ounce of strength, the ghost of Sindri reaches out and touches Thor's forehead. There is no physical contact, but an explosion of ice-cold energy floods Thor's mind. It is not a truth. It is a vision, an implanted memory of a falsehood, jarring and disorienting. He sees himself but younger, standing not in a forge, but in a field of impossible singing flowers. And in his hands he holds a hammer made not of iron, but of living, shimmering light. Then the vision is gone. The ghost of Sindri dissolves into a final, silent cloud of dust. Thor is alone again, the silence of the forge now heavier than ever. But the question that haunted him now was one of perverse and maddening logic. How do you find a truth that is hidden inside a memory you know for certain is a lie? You are not in the forge. The cold dust and echoing silence of Nidavellir are gone. The oppressive weight of the mountain has lifted. Instead, you are standing in a meadow that stretches to a horizon of soft pastel light. There is no sun in the sky, yet everything is illuminated by a gentle, internal luminescence. The grass beneath your feet is not green, but a soft, living silver, and it hums with a low melodic vibration. The field is carpeted with impossible flowers. They have petals made of spun glass and crystalline dew, and they do not grow silently. They sing. Each bloom emits a unique, perfect note, and together they form a choir, a symphony of existence that is so beautiful, so overwhelmingly peaceful, that it feels like the universe's first and purest thought. You look down at your hands. You are Thor, but not the Thor you know. Your hands are bare, the calluses of a warrior smoothed away. And in your right hand, you hold a hammer. It is a hammer made of pure white, solidified light, has no discernible weight, feeling less like an object and more like a focused intention in your palm. Its head is a complex, crystalline structure that captures the light of the singing flowers and refracts it into 1,000 dazzling rainbows. You feel an impulse, not of anger or the need to strike, but of a desire to join the song. You swing the hammer, but it's not a swing of violence. It is a slow, graceful arc, like a conductor's baton leading an orchestra. The hammer makes no sound as it moves through the air. it leaves no trail of lightning. Instead, in its wake, new flowers bloom instantly from the silver grass, adding their own notes to the ever-growing symphony. You are not a destroyer. You are a cultivator, composer of cosmic flora. You feel a sense of profound, tranquil joy, a feeling of being perfectly in tune with the world around you. And it is the most terrifying feeling you have ever experienced. Then, just as quickly as it came, the vision shatters. The song of the flowers is ripped away, replaced by the profound dead silence of the dwarven forge. The beautiful hammer of light vanishes, and the familiar brutal weight of Mjölnir, cold and inert, asserts itself in your grip. You gasp, stumbling back, the contrast between the two sensations causing a wave of vertigo. You are back in the darkness, surrounded by ash and regret. The vision was a memory. It had the texture, the detail, the emotional weight of a memory that was lived. But it was a lie, you know it instinctively. It was too clean, too perfect. The piece it offered was the hollow piece of a dream, lacking the grit and substance of true existence. There was no sweat on your brow, no ache in your muscles, no rage in your heart. It was not you. This is the essence of Odin's magic, you realize. He's a master of Galder, the incantations and spells that shape perception. But this is more than a simple illusion. It feels like an assault on the very architecture of your mind. It reminds you of an obscure technique practiced by ancient mortal poets and orators, the ars memoria, the art of memory. To remember vast quantities of information, they would construct a memory palace in their minds, a familiar building where they could place concepts and facts in different rooms. They would walk through this palace in their imagination to recall the information. Odin, it seems, has performed a terrifying inversion of this art. He has not built a palace to help you remember. He has walled off a room in your own mind, and in its place, he has constructed a beautiful false memory, a sunlit garden designed to distract you from the locked door behind it. The ghost of Sindri did not give you a memory. He gave you the key to a lie. You must remember the lie. The vision was not the truth, but a deliberate, exaggerated parody of it. A hammer of pure light, a field of singing flowers. It was a caricature of creation, a fairy tale version of the true power. Vind-Hjarta is not a magical gardening tool, but the lie points to its nature. True hammer is not about destruction. It's about creation, or at least about a form of power that is harmonious and generative. The vision was a gilded cage, and the bars were made of peace, joy, and beauty, emotions so alien to your core identity as a warrior that you would instinctively recoil from them. And thus, from the truth they were meant to obscure. You now hold two pieces of a maddening puzzle. A physical hammer, Mjölnir, built to suppress a song, and a false memory of a phantom hammer, built to sing a song that is too perfect to be real. One is an instrument of absolute silence, the other an instrument of an impossible symphony. The truth of Vind-Hjarta must lie somewhere in the dissonance between the two. The logic is twisted, layered with paradox and deception. This is not a problem you can solve with your fists. This is not a mountain you can shatter, or an army you can rout. This is a knot of magic and psychology, tied by the most cunning mind in the 9 realms. To untangle it, you need someone who does not think in straight lines. You need an expert in knots, riddles, and deceptions. An artist of the lie. Name comes to your mind unbidden and unwelcome. Name that tastes like ash and sour wine. Loki, your brother, is the trickster, the shapeshifter, the silver-tongued god of mischief, currently imprisoned for his myriad crimes. The thought of seeking his help is repulsive. He is the very embodiment of the chaos and treachery that you, as a bastion of order, have always fought against. Yet who else could see the architecture of a lie woven by the Allfather? Who else would delight in the opportunity to dismantle Odin's grandest secret? It is a desperate, dangerous gamble. But the question that now echoes in the tomb of the Great Forge is one that pushes you toward the inevitable. To unravel a lie woven by the wisest and most powerful of the gods, do you seek a higher, purer truth, or do you descend into the darkness and consult the greatest liar the cosmos has ever known? The path to Loki's prison is not a journey to a place, but a descent through layers of divine law and cosmic punishment. You travel with Thor, feeling his reluctance with every step. There are no grand gates or shimmering portals. He is led by Odin's inner guards to a simple, unassuming cave mouth on a barren, wind-swept moon orbiting Asgard. The air here is thin and dead, and the only light comes from the cold. Distant stars and the brilliant, indifferent jewel that is the home of the gods hanging in the black sky. This is not a dungeon designed to contain a physical body. It is a cage for the mind, a place of psychological torment crafted with a poet's cruelty. You pass through the cave entrance into a darkness that feels absolute, a null space where sound does not travel and light cannot penetrate. This is a place where even a god's senses are rendered useless, forcing them to turn inward, to face the abyss of their own consciousness. After a disorienting walk through the suffocating blackness, a faint greenish light appears ahead. It is the venom. You emerge into a small, damp cavern. In the center, bound to a series of sharp, jagged rocks, is Loki. His face is pale, his lips cracked, his usually sharp and intelligent eyes dulled by eons of pain. Above him, bound to a stalactite, is a colossal serpent, its fangs perpetually dripping a burning acidic venom onto his upturned face. You see the loyalty and love of a goddess in action. Sigyn, his devoted wife, sits by his side, holding a wooden bowl to catch the poison before it can strike him. But every time the bowl is full, she must turn away to empty it. In that brief moment, the venom splashes onto Loki's face, and the cavern shudders with his screams. Screams that have no sound in this enchanted silence, but that you feel as a raw, psychic shockwave. This is his eternal punishment. A bizarrely specific and theatrical torment, reminiscent of the Greek myth of Prometheus, bound to a rock while an eagle eats his liver each day. Odin's punishments always had a flair for the dramatic. Sigyn looks up as Thor enters, her eyes wide with a mixture of fear and surprise. She says nothing, her focus entirely on her grim task. Loki's head lolls to the side, his gaze finding his brother. The pain in his eyes is quickly masked by the old, familiar glint of cunning and amusement. A faint, cracked smile plays on his lips. Well, Loki's voice rasps, not through the air, but directly into Thor's minded trick of the magic dampening field. Look what the Bifrost dragged in, the golden sun, gracing my humble sty with his presence. Have you come to gloat, brother? Or have you finally misplaced your hammer and need my help to find it? Again, Thor ignores the barb, stands resolute, the embodiment of solemn purpose, a stark contrast to Loki's broken, sarcastic form. I have come for a truth, Thor states, his own voice a low rumble in Loki's consciousness. A truth the Allfather has buried. Loki lets out a silent, rasping laugh. Odin has buried a cosmos of truths. You'll have to be more specific. Is it about the Valkyries and their recruitment methods? Perhaps the real reason he traded his eye? That one's a classic. It is about my hammer, Thor says, his voice flat and heavy. At this, Loki's amusement fades. A genuine predatory curiosity sharpens his features. He knows Mjölnir. He was there for its creation. He was the cause of its flawed handle. His mind, a web of intricate deceptions, instantly senses a deeper game. Ah, Loki thinks, his mental voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. The Thundermaker. The Jotun Smasher. Odin's favorite toy? What about it? Thor explains. He speaks of the Phantom Note, the dying giant's words, the forbidden archive, the ghost of Sindri, and finally the false memory of the Hammer of Light. He lays the pieces of the puzzle before Loki, the one being in the 9 realms, with the cognitive framework to assemble them. As he speaks, you see Loki's mind at work. The dullness in his eyes is gone, replaced by a feverish, analytical light. He is not just listening, he's dissecting every word, every concept, tasting the shape and texture of Odin's grand lie. When Thor finishes, Loki is silent for a long time, his gaze distant. Sigyn empties the bowl, and the venom strikes. Loki convulses, his silent scream tearing through the cavern, but this time, his eyes never lose their focus. The pain is an old friend, a mere distraction from the beautiful, complex problem that has just been laid at his feet. A song, Loki finally muses, the pain receding, a cage, a lie wrapped in a dream. Done. Oh, he has outdone himself this time. It's magnificent. He looks at Thor, a flicker of something almost like respect in his gaze. You felt a resonance, a missing harmony. You found a text about a vibrational twin. You saw a vision of a hammer that creates. Brother, you are asking the wrong question. You keep looking for an object. Another hammer. You think this is a scavenger hunt? Loki's smile returns, sharp and wicked. This is a riddle of reflection. The answer is not hidden in a place. It's hidden in a person. He pauses, letting the weight of the statement sink in. Odin's magic is deep, but it follows its own strange laws. The law of balance. You cannot simply erase a power of that magnitude from the cosmos. You must ground it. Hide it in a vessel that no one would ever think to look inside. Something that is its opposite. Thor is silent, his brow furrowed in concentration. What vessel? Loki's grin widens. Think, brother. What is the opposite of a hammer that creates life, that sings a song of pure, harmonious existence? What is the perfect hiding place for a power that can mend the fabric of reality? He leans forward as much as his bonds will allow, his voice a venomous whisper in Thor's mind. It's a person. A person whose very nature is tied to iron, to war, to the cold, hard earth. A person who was born from the very race that is Asgard's eternal enemy, a person whose name means iron sacks, a weapon of stone and steel, a person you once loved. Loki lets the final piece of the riddle hang in the silent air. Thor's face, a mask of stoic resolve, finally cracks. A wave of confusion, then dawning, horrified recognition washes over him. A name. A face from a past he has not revisited in centuries. A past that feels hazy, indistinct, as if covered by a veil. A giantess. A lover from his youth. A whirlwind romance that ended. How did it end, he cannot clearly remember. The memory is clouded, intentionally blurred. Jarnsaxa, the iron sacks. But the question that now hangs in the venom-laced air is one of sheer, horrifying implication. If Loki was right, and the power of Vind-Hjarta was hidden within a person, had Odin simply concealed her? Or had he done something far, far worse to the woman Thor once loved? The name Jarnsaxa echoes in the silent prison, not as a word, but as a fissure cracking open across the barren landscape of Thor's forgotten past. You feel his shock, the violent collision of a long-suppressed affection and a dawning cosmic horror. Loki has not given him an answer. He has given him a wound. A name that should have evoked warmth and memory instead brings a chilling, unnatural blankness. He remembers her, but only in fragments, like a dream that evaporates upon waking. He remembers a fierce laugh, hair the color of midnight, and eyes that held the ancient strength of the mountains. He remembers a love that was a wild storm, a tempest of passion between two beings who should have been enemies. But the details, the beginning, the middle, the end, they are all shrouded in a thick, magical fog. He cannot recall her face clearly, cannot remember her voice. He cannot remember why she is gone. He leaves Loki's prison without another word, the trickster's silent, knowing smile burning into his back. The journey away from that cursed moon is a journey inward, into the fog of his own mind. The name Jarnsaxa is a key, but the lock is his own memory, and it has been sealed by the All-Father's magic. He cannot break this spell with force. He cannot reason with it. It is a part of him now, a void where a person used to be. To fight it is to fight himself. He needs a place where memories are not personal possessions, but a collective, accessible history. A place where the past cannot be altered, only observed. He needs to go to a place more ancient and more terrible than Odin's archives, a place where the secrets of the dead are kept. He needs to go to Helheim. The journey to the realm of the dead is a stark contrast to his other travels. It is not a path through space or a tunnel through rock. It is a downward slope, a one-way road paved with despair. You feel the atmosphere change as he descends the long, winding path of Helvig. The air grows cold and damp, carrying the scent of wet earth, decaying leaves, and a profound, soul-crushing sorrow. The vibrant colors of the cosmos fade to a palette of grays, browns, and muted greens. This is the realm of the dishonored dead, those who did not die a glorious death in battle but faded away from sickness, old age, or heartbreak. It is not a place of fire and brimstone. It is a realm of eternal, monotonous melancholy. This is the true Norse underworld, a place whose horror lies not in pain, but in its infinite gray pointlessness. He arrives at the gates of Hell's domain. They are not grand structures, but a simple, creaking wooden gate guarded by the monstrous Houndgarm. The beast's fur is matted with the blood of ages, and its ceaseless howling bark is said to be one of the signs of Ragnar's coming. But as Thor approaches, the hound falls silent, looks at him, its four burning eyes filled not with aggression, but with a deep, primal understanding. It senses he is not here as a conqueror, but as a supplicant. He is not here for the living, but for the dead. The gate swings open on its own. It's grown the only sound in the desolate landscape, crosses into Helheim proper. The realm is a vast gray expanse under a permanently overcast sky. There are no birds, no insects, no life. Only the silent, shuffling figures of the dead, the Draugr, wandering aimlessly through misty fields of asphodel. They are not ghosts, they have substance, but they are hollowed out, their faces blank masks of quiet apathy. Thor ignores them. His destination lies at the very center of the realm, in the hall of the goddess Hel herself. He finds her not on a throne of bone, but in a place that is both library and crypt. This is the Library of Souls. It is an immense, cavernous space, but instead of books, the shelves are lined with countless millions of polished gray stones. Each stone is perfectly smooth, cool to the touch, and utterly unremarkable. But each one contains the complete, unedited memories of a single soul that has passed into this realm. Hel sits at a large stone table in the center of the library, meticulously cataloging the newest arrivals. She is a being of stark, unsettling contrast. One half of her body is that of a beautiful living woman with skin like cream and hair like spun gold. The other half is that of a rotting corpse, her flesh blue-black and decaying, her eye a vacant, milky orb. She is the daughter of Loki, a fact that makes this visit even more fraught with tension. She looks up as Thor enters, her living eye expressing a cold, regal indifference, her dead eye showing nothing at all. "Uncle," she says, her voice a strange harmony of a living woman's melody and the dry rustle of a corpse's whisper. "Is rare to see the living in my halls, especially one who reeks of thunder and purpose. You disturb the quiet." "I seek a memory," Thor says, his voice low, careful not to boom and shatter the fragile silence of this place. "One that has been stolen from me." Hel's living lips curve into a faint, mirthless smile. "Memories are not stolen, God of Thunder. They are misplaced, or they are paid for." She gestures to the endless shelves of soul stones. The lives of mortals, heroes, even the lesser gods, are all here. But you seek the memory of an Aesir, one who is not dead, or perhaps one whose death was unrecorded. A bizarre fact of this place is its bureaucracy. Hel's domain is meticulously organized. Every soul has a place, every memory a catalog number. An unrecorded death is an anomaly, an offense against the very order of her realm. Her name is Jarnsaxa, Thor says, the name feeling like a lead weight on his tongue. Hel's expression does not change, but you feel a subtle shift in the room's oppressive atmosphere. She closes her living eye, accessing her own vast internal index of souls. She is silent for a long time. Then, she opens her eye, and it is filled with a cold, analytical light. "There is no one here by that name," she states. "No soulstone, no record, no echo. I have memories of giants, gods, mortals, and beasts who have interacted with a being of that name. I have the memory of your own mother, Frigg, worrying about her. I even have the memory of a baker in a small Midgardian village who once saw her from a distance. It is as if she was a story, a character in the memories of others, but never had a soul of her own. This is impossible. A being cannot exist only in the memories of others. To have no soulstone in Hel's library means one of two things. Either you are still alive, or you were never truly born at all." "Her existence has been scoured," Hel whispers, a flicker of something like professional outrage in her tone. "Not just from your mind, but from the very ledger of life and death. This is not Odin's work. This is a magic that predates him. A magic that erases a soul from the tapestry of fate itself. To do this is to break a fundamental law of the cosmos." She looks at Thor, her gaze piercing. To find a truth this deeply buried, you cannot consult the library. The book you need has been burned, its ashes scattered. You must find a witness who was there when the fire was set, but there is a price. The gatekeeper saw you enter. He is hungry, but the question that now chilled Thor to his very marrow was one of terrifying consequence. What kind of truth requires a price to be paid to the hound that guards the gates of hell, and what memory could be so dangerous that it had to be erased not just from his mind, but from reality itself? The walk back to the gates of Helheim is a funeral procession for a ghost. You feel Thor's resolve hardening into a cold, grim necessity. Hell's revelation has changed the nature of his quest. This is no longer about a lost weapon or a stolen memory. It is about a missing soul. Jarnsaxa's very existence has been redacted from the cosmic record. An act so fundamentally profane, it borders on blasphemy against the laws of reality itself. Odin may have clouded Thor's mind, but this deeper erasure hints at a conspiracy far older and more terrifying. Hell's final words echo in the oppressive silence. The gatekeeper is hungry. The price for this truth will not be paid in gold or blood, but in something far more essential. You stand once more before the groaning wooden gates.
Garmer
is waiting. The beast is no longer lying passively. It stands alert, its 4 burning eyes fixed on Thor, its massive, wolf-like body tense with anticipation. Its jaws are open, and from its throat comes not a bark but a low, guttural growl that is the sound of primordial hunger. This is not the hunger for flesh. It is the hunger for essence, for the intangible fabric of what makes a person who they are. Garmer is the eater of memories. This is his true and terrible function. He is not just a guard. He is the final arbiter of oblivion, the being who consumes the memories of those who wish to be truly forgotten, or those whose stories are too dangerous to be remembered. Thor knows what he must do. This will be a bargain, a transaction in the oldest and most brutal of currencies. He needs a memory that has been erased from the world. To get it, he must offer one of his own. But which one? What memory could possibly be valuable enough to trade for a truth that has been scoured from fate? A memory of a great victory? A memory of his mother's love? A memory of his own birth? He looks at the hound, at the raw psychic hunger in its eyes, and he understands. Garmer does not want a happy memory or a sad one. He wants a pillar, a foundational memory, one that defines the core of Thor's identity. The price for remembering Jarnsaxa is to forget a piece of himself. I will make the trade. Thor's voice booms, the first loud sound to break the silence of Helheim. It rolls across the gray plains, a defiant clap of thunder in a world of whispers. He steps forward, closing the distance to the monstrous hound until he is close enough to feel the heat radiating from its eyes. He holds out his hand, not in aggression, but in offering. A memory for a name. A truth for a piece of my soul. Garm lets out a low whine, a sound of eager, terrible delight.
Ow.
The bargain is struck. Thor closes his eyes, searches his own past, not for a memory to discard, but for the one that is most precious to his sense of self. He finds it. The day he first lifted Mjölnir, not the public ceremony, the grand presentation before the court of Asgard. He goes deeper, to the private moment before. He's younger, brimming with arrogance and physical power. Odin leads him to the master anvil in Asgard's forge. The hammer lies there, inert and cold. Odin tells him that only one who is worthy may lift it. It is a test, a challenge. Thor, full of pride, steps forward and grips the short handle. Pulls. The hammer does not budge. It is impossibly heavy, as if it is part of the anvil itself. He pulls again, his muscles straining, veins standing out on his neck. Nothing. Humiliation burns in his chest. Then Odin places a hand on his shoulder. It is not about strength, my son, the Allfather says. It is about purpose. What is your purpose? In that moment, Thor looks at the hammer and sees not a tool, but a symbol of order, of strength, of the righteous fury of the Aesir, brought to bear against the chaos of the cosmos. He sees his destiny. His purpose is to be the protector of Asgard, the hammer of the gods. Thor grips the handle again, his mind filled not with the desire to lift it, but with the acceptance of his role. The hammer, light as a feather, lifts from the anvil. The feeling is not of triumph, but of completion. It is the moment he truly became Thor. This is the memory he offers. It's a cornerstone of his identity as the god of thunder. He holds it in his mind, a perfect, shining sphere of personal history, and projects it outward. You see it as a shimmering orb of golden light floating from Thor's forehead toward the waiting maw of the hound. Garmr lunges forward and snaps it up. It does not chew or swallow. The orb simply dissolves into his essence, consumed. The hound shudders, its form flickering as it digests the potent memory. For a single, bizarre moment, one of its 4 burning eyes glints with a flash of righteous, noble purpose. Then it is gone. In its place, a new memory flows back into Thor's mind. It is not an orb of light, but a shard of jagged black glass. It is cold, sharp, and painful. It is not a complete memory, but a fragment, a single name, whispered in the darkness. As the name settles into his consciousness, Garmr opens its jaws and speaks. Its voice is not a voice at all, but a chorus of all the forgotten memories it has ever consumed, 1,000 whispering ghosts speaking as one. The name you seek is not the one you know, the chorus of whispers says. The name Jarnsaxa was a mask, a story, a shell to hold the truth. Her true name has been scoured, eaten, forgotten. We hold but a single, indigestible fragment of it, a piece of a name that could not be unmade. The name that echoes in Thor's mind is a whisper, a sound without meaning, a single syllable torn from a larger word. But with that syllable comes a deluge of sensory information, the scent of iron-rich soil, the taste of pine sap, the sight of a forest so dense and ancient that no light penetrates its canopy, a place of deep, primal power. The fragment of the name combines with Loki's riddle, Jarnsaxa, and points to a single location in the 9 realms, Mjölnir, the Ironwood. The ancient mythical forest in Jotunheim, home to giantesses, trolls, and the mother of all wolves. It is a place where even the gods tread with caution. Thor stumbles back from the gate, a hand to his head. The space where the memory of lifting Mjölnir used to be is now a cold, hollow void. He looks down at the hammer in his hand. He knows it is his. He knows he is its master. But he cannot remember why. The emotional connection, the sense of purpose and destiny tied to it is gone. It is now just an object. A powerful, familiar tool, but nothing more. The price has been paid. He has traded the memory of his own becoming for a single, cryptic clue. But the question that now drives him forward, with a newfound sense of desperate urgency, is a chilling one. Who was the woman he once loved that her true name was so dangerous it had to be devoured by the eater of memories itself? The transaction is complete. You feel the echoing emptiness inside Thor's mind, a hollow space where a defining moment of his life used to reside. The knowledge of how he became worthy of Mjölnir is gone, replaced by a cold, intellectual fact. He knows he can lift the hammer, but the triumphant solo-firming why has been devoured by the hound of hell. The loss is a clean surgical wound, and it is this very emptiness that allows him to feel the shard of new information with terrifying clarity. It is not a memory. It is a splinter of reality lodged in his consciousness, single, guttural syllable of a name, and with it, the undeniable sensory blueprint of a place, the Ironwood Mjölnir. He turns his back on the gate, and the now sated Garmr, and begins the long ascent from the realm of the dead. Each step away from the gray plains of Helheim is a step toward a different, more vibrant kind of darkness. He focuses on the fragment in his mind. It feels dangerous, like holding a piece of a shattered star. He understands now. What was done to Jarnsaxa was not murder. Murder is a crime against a person. This was a crime against existence itself. To scour a name from time is to perform a divine damnatio memoria. The ancient Romans, in their mortal arrogance, believed they could erase a traitor from history by chiseling their name from monuments and destroying their statues. It was a political act, an attempt to control the narrative. This is something else entirely. This is a magical act of retroactive annihilation. It is an attempt to convince the universe that someone never existed at all. This is a direct violation of the work of the Norns, the 3 ancient beings who sit at the base of Yggdrasil, weaving the threads of fate for every living thing, from the smallest insect to the greatest of the gods. To scour a name is to reach back into their loom and forcibly rip a thread from the tapestry. The universe abhors a vacuum, and reality itself would have to rewrite its own past to patch the hole. Memories would blur, records would vanish, and the person would fade into a whispered rumor, a ghost in the footnotes of other people's lives. This is the magic that was deployed against her. A power so profound, so illegal in a cosmic sense, that it could only be wielded by a being with an utter contempt for the fundamental laws of creation. He tries to remember her now, armed with this new, terrible knowledge. He pushes past the magical fog, past the decoy name of Jarnsaxa. He searches for the woman connected to the scent of pine and the feel of iron-rich soil. Fleeting images, brighter and sharper than before, flash behind his eyes. He sees her sparring with him in a glade, her movements a blur of deadly grace, a wooden practice sword held in her hand with the same lethal intent as any steel blade. He hears a peal of laughter, deep and unrestrained, as he slips on a wet stone while crossing a raging river. He feels the warmth of her hand on his arm, a silent gesture of comfort after a bitter argument with Odin. But these are just fragments, disconnected moments that lack context. The narrative that bound them together, their meeting, their love, their parting is still gone. The erasure was so thorough that even his own divine mind can only recover these fleeting rebellious echoes. The name Jarnsaxa, meaning iron sax, was a clever deception. It was a name that fit her giant heritage, a warrior-esque name that was plausible enough to act as a placeholder in the minds of those who remembered her at all. It pointed to her nature as a Jotun of the ironwood, but it was a title, not a name. It was like calling a king crown-wearer, and it directed anyone searching for her toward the most obvious, most dangerous part of her domain. Mjölnir, the ironwood. The name itself is a quirky and ominous piece of Norse mythology. It is not just a forest, it is a place of grim genesis. The ancient prophecies of the Völuspá speak of it as the place where an old giantess raises the monstrous offspring of Fenrir, the great wolf. It is a cosmic nursery for monsters, a forest whose trees have iron leaves and whose soil gives birth to things that will one day help destroy the world. It is a place of raw, chaotic, and frighteningly fertile power. This, he realizes, is why a fragment of her memory could survive there. A place that gives birth to monsters and chaos is inherently resistant to the imposed order of a reality-altering spell. The ironwood remembers because its very nature is to defy the neat, clean lines of established fate. As Thor finally emerges from the path to Helheim, back into the normal flow of time and space, his quest has been irrevocably transformed. The search for a hammer of creation has become a rescue mission, a mission to reclaim a soul from the brink of non-existence. The hollow ache in his mind where his own sacred memory used to be has given him a sliver of empathy for what she must have endured. He has lost a memory. She has lost her entire reality. He looks down at Mjölnir. The weapon feels heavier now, not with physical weight, but with the weight of the lie it represents. It is a tool of a history he no longer fully owns. To find her, he must journey to the one place that refused to forget. But the question that now drives him with a cold and singular purpose is this. When you journey to a place that even the gods fear, a forest that births world-ending monsters, what do you find waiting for you in the heart of its darkness, guarding the last echo of a forgotten soul? The ironwood does not welcome you. As Thor crosses the border from the desolate plains of Jotunheim into the forest's shadow, the world changes. The air, once thin and cold, becomes thick, heavy, and primal. It smells of damp, iron-rich earth, decaying wood, and something else. A faint coppery temps that hints at old blood and predatory hunger. You step with him out of the muted twilight of the giant lands and into an oppressive, eternal gloom. The trees of Mjölnir are a terrifying spectacle of nature, twisted into a state of permanent aggression. Their bark is the color of rusted iron, and their leaves are sharp, its metallic blades that chime with the discordant, threatening music in the unfelt wind. There is no sunlight here. The canopy is a solid, interlocking shield of black branches, so dense that the concept of a sky feels like a distant rumor. The only light is a faint, phosphorescent glow that emanates from strange, fungal growths on the tree trunks, casting everything in an eerie green and purple luminescence. This is a place that actively resists life as the other realms know it. There is no birdsong, no scurrying of small animals. There is only a profound, watchful silence, the kind of silence that precedes an ambush. The ground is a soft, spongy carpet of moss and fallen iron leaves that muffles Thor's footsteps, making his powerful strides unnervingly silent. You feel the forest's malevolence as a physical pressure. The trees themselves seem to lean in as he passes, their branches like skeletal fingers, their roots like grasping talons half buried in the soil. This is the historical birthplace of horrors, the physical manifestation of the dark side of Norse legends. It's from this very forest that the giantess Angerboa, the bringer of grief, was said to have mothered Loki's 3 most monstrous children, the serpent Jarnsaxa, the death goddess Hel, and the wolf Fenrir. The very soil here is saturated with a chaotic procreative energy that defies the god's desire for order. Thor pushes deeper into the wood, his senses on high alert. The silence is broken by unsettling sporadic sounds. A wet, tearing noise from somewhere in the undergrowth. A low, guttural growl that seems to come from all directions at once. The snap of a twig that sounds as loud as a breaking bone. He is being watched. Hunted. The denizens of this forest are the Jarnsaxa, the ironwood dwellers, monstrous giantesses and trolls who are more beast than person. They are the mothers and guardians of the wolves that will one day swallow the sun and moon. He sees them as fleeting shapes in the periphery of his vision, a hulking form that detaches itself. From the shadow of a great tree, a pair of glowing yellow eyes that blink once from the darkness of a hollow log before disappearing. He does not draw Mjölnir. His quest here is not one of conquest. He is a supplicant, a searcher. He is guided by the splinter of memory in his mind, the fragment of Jarnsaxa's true name. It acts as a compass, pulling him toward the heart of the forest. The deeper he goes, the more the landscape changes. Trees become larger, more ancient, their iron bark twisted into grotesque parodies of living forms. He comes to a clearing. In the center stands a circle of 9 enormous petrified trees, their tops fused together to form a kind of natural, open-air cathedral. The air here is different. The oppressive menace of the forest recedes, replaced by a feeling of immense, sorrowful age. At the center of the circle of trees, sitting on a throne carved from a single massive lodestone, is a figure. It is a giantess, but one unlike any he has seen before. She is ancient, her skin the texture of cracked river clay, her hair a wild white mane that cascades down to the ground. She is blind, her eyes covered by a simple leather band, yet her head is tilted as if she is listening to something far beyond the confines of this forest. She is the Angerboa, the ancient mother of monsters. Or she is one of her kind, an elder of the ironwood so old that her name and the title have become one. She is not a queen of this place. She is its heart, its memory, its will. She does not stir as Thor enters the clearing. She sits unmoving, a monument of grief and time. Thor stops at the edge of the circle, showing respect for the sanctity of this place. He waits. The silence stretches, thick and heavy. Finally, she speaks. Her voice is the sound of stones grinding together, of ancient trees groaning under the weight of centuries. "You have come," she says. It is not a question. The little god with the broken memory? You smell of Odin's lies and Hel's despair. "I seek one who was lost," Thor says, his voice quiet, respectful. "One of your people," the giantess lets out a long, slow sigh, a sound like a landslide in a distant valley. "No one is lost here, son of Odin. They are remembered. It is the worlds outside that forget. You seek the girl who loved the thunder, the one who is named after the strength of the earth, and then given a new name, a warrior's name, to hide her true nature." A quirky detail of the Jotnar, the giants, is their relationship with names. To the Aesir, a name is a label, an identifier. To the ancient giants, a name is a statement of being, a literal description of one's essence. To change a name is to attempt to change the essence of a thing. Her name was scoured from time, Thor says. I hold only a fragment of it. A name cannot be scoured from a place that exists outside of linear time, the old giantess replies, a flicker of grim pride in her tone. This wood does not obey the Allfather's chronology. Here the past, present, and future bleed into one another. We remember her. We remember her true name. We remember what was done. She pauses, her head tilting, listening, but that memory is not mine to give. It belongs to her. She left a piece of it here, a seed, in the hopes that you would one day be worthy enough to find it. She raises a long, stony finger and points to the ground at her feet. She was a daughter of the ironwood. Her magic was not the magic of spells or incantations. It was the magic of soil and seed, of growth and form. The power Odin feared, the power he tried to steal and then suppress, was the power of creation. The hammer he coveted was never a weapon. It was a key to unlock the life that sleeps in the heart of all things. The giantess's words die away, and Thor looks down at the spot she indicated. The ground there is bare, a patch of dark, impossibly fertile earth. It looks like nothing, just dirt. But as he focuses on it, he feels a faint, familiar resonance. It is the same feeling he got from the Phantom Note, from the forbidden tome in Odin's archive, from the false memory of the singing flowers. It is a vibration of pure, unbridled, creative potential. This is her legacy. This is her last stand against the erasure of her soul. But the question that now hangs in the ancient, sacred clearing is one of profound mystery. What kind of power is locked away in a simple patch of dirt, and what must he do to awaken the last, defiant memory of the lost giantess of Ironwood? The patch of dark earth is a gaping silence in a forest that is already unnervingly quiet. You stand with Thor before the ancient blind giantess, the weight of her words settling over the clearing like a shroud. This patch of soil is not a grave, it is a seed, a final desperate act of preservation from a woman being erased from existence. The resonance Thor feels pulling him from across the cosmos is not coming from a person or an object, but from this humble plot of dirt. It is the last bastion of Jarnsaxa's true self, a concentrated echo of her essence, her true name, her power. The power of creation, sleeping in the earth. The giantess, this living monument of primordial grief, speaks again, her voice the slow shifting of countenance. Odin's magic is a lie of omission, hides truth behind walls of force and fear. The magic that was used on her is a lie of conversion. It does not destroy, it overwrites. Tried to turn her song into silence. But it could not destroy the seed from which the song first grew. Her blindfolded face turns toward Thor, and you feel her ancient gaze piercing right through him. That power sleeps. To awaken it, a spark is needed. A memory cannot be taken from it. It must be given one. Thor understands. This is a trade, but a far more intimate one than the bargain he struck with Garmr. He cannot simply offer a piece of his past. He must connect, resonate, and share a part of his own being with the dormant seed. He steps into the circle of petrified trees, his presence a ripple of contained, violent energy in the profound stillness of the place. He kneels. For the god of thunder, the proudest of Odin's sons, to kneel on the soil of Jotunheim is an act of immense humility. It is an admission that his strength, his hammer, his entire identity as a warrior are useless here. He reaches out, not with the hand that wields Mjölnir, but with his left hand, his bare skin open and vulnerable. He places his palm flat against the cool, dark earth. At first, there is nothing, just the feeling of damp soil. He closes his eyes and focuses, thinks of the Phantom Note, the harmonic ghost that started this entire maddening journey. He reaches for that sound within himself, for the part of his power that is his alone, the thunderous spirit that is his birthright. He lets a trickle of that energy flow from his hand into the soil. It is like pouring a drop of lightning into a silent ocean, and the ocean responds. The world dissolves. The clearing, the giantess, the ironwood, all of it vanishes. You are unmoored, floating in a formless void of pure potential. Then a vision blooms in the darkness, projected directly into your mind from the awakened earth. It is not a memory of the past, but it is a demonstration of a function. You see a storm. It's not a storm of wind and rain, but a tempest of raw reality. Colors bleed into each other, space twists and folds, and a sound like a billion souls screaming in dissonance tears at your consciousness. It is a wound in the fabric of the cosmos, a place where the laws of existence are breaking down. Then, through the chaos, you see a hand. it holds a hammer. It is not Mjölnir's brutalist iron. It is not the ethereal hammer of light from the false memory. This hammer looks alive. It appears to be carved from the heartwood of some ancient cosmic tree, its grains swirling with trapped starlight. Its head is a single, uncut crystal that hums with a low, powerful drone. The hand does not swing the hammer at the storm. It does not strike. It simply holds the hammer up, presenting it to the chaos. The hammer's hum deepens, its frequency shifting until it perfectly matches the shrieking dissonance of the reality storm. Then, it begins to change its tune. Slowly, powerfully, it introduces a new note, a tone of sublime, unshakable order. It is not an act of destruction, but of soothing. It is like a cosmic lullaby sung to a screaming universe. The chaotic energies are not defeated. They are calmed. The bleeding colors stabilize as the twisted space smooths itself out. The screaming fades, replaced by the deep, resonant hum of the hammer. The hammer does not break worlds. It mends them. It is a tool that quiets the storms of reality. The vision fades. Thor is back in the clearing, kneeling, his hands still pressed to the earth, which now feels warm and vibrant, teeming with a life that was dormant moments before. He is gasping, the sheer conceptual weight of what he has just seen leaving him breathless. This is the true power, not a force to oppose chaos, but a harmony to resolve it. The ancient giantess nods slowly, as if she has seen the vision alongside him. The Vavlur of Midgard, the little seers with their wands, and their chants, they try to read the threads of fate that are yet to be woven, she rumbles. What you have just witnessed is not a prophecy. It is a memory of a purpose. You have seen what the Vind-Hjarta does. Her words confirm the name he found in Odin's forbidden book, Vind-Hjarta, the Vind-Hjarta. It was a hammer that controlled not the winds of the sky, but the silent foundational winds of existence itself. This vision connects to an obscure piece of northern European folklore. The belief in Vargamor, or Wolf Mother, tree sentient, gnarled trees, often found alone in a field, that were believed to be the source of all wolves and, by extension, all chaos. Villagers would leave offerings at their base not to destroy them, but to appease their wild, creative, and dangerous energy. Jarnsaxa's power, like that of the Vargamor, is not something to be wielded, but something to be respected and harmonized with. Thor lifts his hand from the soil. He feels a new sense of clarity, of cold, hard purpose. The giantess has shown him the what. He now understands the function of the true hammer. But he still does not know the where or the why of its creation. The vision is a key, the giantess says, as if reading his thoughts, but the lock is not here. The hammer you saw was carved from a branch of the first tree, as hard as the tear of a dead creator. It was forged in a place where cosmic law was broken, to mend a wound that can never truly heal. She points a stony finger not at a direction in the forest, but upwards, towards the unseen sky, towards the center of everything. Look to the great tree. Look for the scar it tries to hide. She has given him his next destination, Yggdrasil, the world tree, the cosmic axis around which all 9 realms revolve. But the question that now propels him out of the ironwood with a new, terrifying urgency is this: what wound upon the sacred trunk of Yggdrasil could be so grievous that it required the creation of a power capable of quieting the storms of reality itself? And what does that ancient injury have to do with the woman he is trying to save? Leaving the ironwood is like waking from a fever dream. You step out from under its oppressive, iron-leafed canopy back into the familiar, stark twilight of Jotunheim. The air is clean and sharp again, and the silence is merely an absence of sound, not a predatory presence. Thor stands for a moment, letting his senses recalibrate. The vision of the Vind-Hjarta hammer Vind-Hjarta is seared into his mind. It was not a weapon of war, but an instrument of cosmic tuning, a tool for a janitor of reality. This realization doesn't just change his understanding of his own power, it recasts his entire identity. He has spent his life as the fist of Asgard. Now he learns his true purpose might have been to be its gentle hand. The blind giantess's final words guide him, pointing him toward the very spine of the cosmos, Yggdrasil, the world tree. The journey to the trunk of Yggdrasil is not a physical travel from one realm to another. It is an act of will, a refocusing of divine perception. For a god, the 9 realms are not separate planets in a void. They're different states of being, different vibrational frequencies clustered around the great, unifying axis of the world tree. Thor stands on the plains of Jotunheim, closes his eyes and reaches his eyes, and reaches. He extends his consciousness past the borders of the physical world, seeking the foundational trunk from which all realities spring. The world around you dissolves into a blur of light and energy, a chaotic transit through the Ginnungagap, the creative void between worlds. Then reality reasserts itself with a silent, deafening boom. You are no longer in any of the 9 realms. You are in a place that is all of them and none of them at once. You are standing on one of the colossal roots of Yggdrasil itself. The scale is impossible to comprehend. The root is a continent of living wood, its bark creased with canyons and valleys. Far below, you can see the misty expanse of Niflheim, the realm of primordial ice. Far above, the branches disappear into a swirling nebula of starlight, holding the golden realm of Asgard in their highest boughs. The trunk of the tree itself is a wall that stretches to infinity in every direction, its surface a living, moving tapestry of bark, the size of mountain ranges. The air hums with a power so immense it makes Thor's own divinity feel like a flickering candle in a hurricane. This is the central pillar of all existence. The ancient giantess told him to find a scar, a wound on this impossibly vast structure. It is a task akin to finding a single, specific scratch on the surface of a planet. But he has a guide, the resonance. The same harmonic pull that led him to the ironwood is here, stronger, more focused. It is a siren song of cosmic pain, a flaw in the perfect, harmonious hum of the great tree. He begins to walk, his strides covering leagues at a time, traversing the root system landscape. He passes wonders that would shatter a mortal mind. He sees one of the Norns, a being of infinite age. And Sorrow, tending to a frayed portion of the trunk, her hands weaving new bark into existence. He sees the great serpent Nhggr, the malice striker, gnawing ceaselessly at the base of the tree. It's cosmic vandalism, a necessary part of the cycle of decay and rebirth. The resonance leads him to a place that feels ... wrong. It is a section of the trunk where the bark is not brown and living, but a sickly pale white like bleached bone. The normal, healthy hum of the tree is absent here, replaced by a low, dissonant moan. This is the place. It is a scar, not of a wound inflicted from the outside, but of a sickness that has grown from within. The wood is petrified, dead. It does not feel like wood at all, but like a strange crystalline stone. It's a cosmic canker, a place where the life force of Yggdrasil has been permanently severed. This is a historical site of unimaginable trauma, the divine equivalent of a battlefield where a weapon of mass destruction was used. In some ancient sagas, Yggdrasil is said to tremble when great evils are committed. This is not a tremble. This is a permanent paralysis. Thor approaches the pale, dead section of the trunk. The closer he gets, the stronger the dissonant moan becomes. It is a sound of perpetual, unending agony. He reaches the edge of the scar. The dead wood extends for miles, a ghostly white desert carved into the side of the living tree. In the very center of this wasteland of petrified bark, something is leaking from the trunk. It is not sap. It is a slow, viscous, crystalline fluid, the color of a twilight sky. It drips from a deep fissure in the dead wood and pools on the ground below, where it hardens into strange, multifaceted gems that glitter with a cold, internal light. The air around the fissure is thick with a palpable aura of grief. It is the most profound and absolute sorrow Thor has ever felt, a sadness that makes the entire realm of Helheim feel like a place of mild disappointment. He walks toward the fissure, his boots crunching on the crystallized tears. The quirky, bizarre detail of this place is the nature of the sorrow. It is not the grief of a single being. It is the foundational, primordial grief of a creator for its own dismembered creation. Thor recognizes it from the oldest, most forbidden legends, the ones even Odin rarely speaks of. This is the sorrow of Ymir. Ymir, the first being the primordial giant from whose body the entire world was made. Odin and his brothers Vili and Ve had slain him, using his flesh to form the earth, his blood to form the oceans, his skull to form the sky. It was the foundational act of creation, but it was also the first murder. It's an act of brutal cosmic parricide. The Aesir creation myth is one of the few in world mythology where the world is built not from an act of love or sacrifice, but from the violent butchering of a parent figure. This scar on Yggdrasil, Thor realizes, is the place where that original cosmic crime has never healed. It is a point of infection in the soul of the world, a place where the grief of the murdered creator perpetually leaks out into reality. The crystalline substance is not just sap. It is the solidified, concentrated tears of a dead god. He reaches the fissure. The dripping fluid is cold to the touch, and when he pulls his hand back, a single, perfect teardrop clings to his fingertip. It does not feel wet. It feels like a piece of solid, sorrowful emotion. As he looks at it, a vision flashes in his mind. He sees Odin, younger, fiercer, standing in this very spot. He is not looking at the scar with remorse, but with a cold, calculating purpose. He is gathering the crystalline tears, collecting them as if they are a rare and valuable resource. Thor understands with a sickening certainty. The vision from the ironwood showed him a hammer with a crystal heart. This is that crystal. The core of the Vind-Hjarta hammer, the tool designed to soothe the storms of reality, was made from the crystallized grief of the first being ever murdered. It was created to heal a wound, but its very substance was born from the act that caused the wound in the first place. It is a paradox of unimaginable proportions. But the question that now grips Thor with an iron fist is one of dark and terrible intent. Why would Odin, the very being who committed the first murder, forge a tool from the tears of his victim? And what chaotic storm was he so desperate to soothe that he would resort to harnessing the power of his own original sin? The crystalline tear on Thor's fingertip feels like a shard of frozen grief, a concentrated remnant of the cosmos' first and greatest sorrow. You stand with him at this gaping, unhealable wound on the world tree, the air thick with the psychic residue of Ymir's murder. The revelation is staggering. Vind-Hjarta, the hammer of cosmic harmony, is powered by the sorrow of the first victim of divine violence. It is a tool of healing forged from the essence of a wound. The paradox is so profound, so deeply cynical, that it could only have been conceived by one mind. Odin's, the Allfather, the architect of this age, built his new world on the corpse of the old one, and then created a tool from the lingering pain to help maintain it. As Thor stares into the fissure, the source of the crystalline tears, the single drop on his finger acts as a key, a catalyst. The sorrow of the place, which had been a crushing, ambient pressure, now focuses, flowing into him, not as an emotion to be felt, but as information to be witnessed. The world around you dissolves again, not into a void this time, but into a swirling vortex of primordial pre-creation chaos. You are cast back in time, a disembodied observer at the dawn of the gods. You are witnessing a memory held within the scar of Yggdrasil itself. You see Odin. He is not the wise one-eyed king of Asgard. He's younger, wilder, his face a mask of terrible, ambitious resolve. He stands with his brothers Vili and Vi over the colossal fallen form of their father Ymir. They have just slain him. The act is done, but something is wrong. The act of killing the first being has not resulted in order. It has unleashed a new and terrifying form of chaos. The energies that made up Ymir, the raw, untamed forces of creation, are now unbound. They are not inert matter, flesh and blood to be used for building. They're screaming, sentient forces, a storm of pure creative potential, with no vessel to contain it. The blood that flows from Ymir's wounds is not forming oceans. It is forming raging tsunamis of liquid reality that threaten to drown the nascent cosmos. The flesh is not forming stable land. It is birthing mountains that scream and writhe, growing and collapsing in a heartbeat. Odin and his brothers have not committed a simple murder. They have ruptured the vessel of creation itself, and now its contents are spilling out uncontrolled. This is the first reality storm. The vision from the ironwood was not a prophecy of a future event. It was a memory of this original apocalyptic cataclysm. Odin looks upon the chaos he has unleashed, not with fear, but with a horrifying realization. He thought he could kill his father and take his place, building a new, ordered world. Instead, he has simply broken the old one, and its dying throes are tearing the new one apart before it can even be born. This is the Allfather's original sin, a mistake of such magnitude that it has been written out of every official history, every bard's song. The neatly packaged creation myth: flesh for earth, blood for sea, skull for skies. A sanitized lie. A piece of divine propaganda to cover up this initial catastrophic failure. The vision shifts. Odin is alone now, standing at this very scar on Yggdrasil, the wound that his actions created in the fabric of the cosmos. He is desperately trying to contain the chaos, using his immense power to weave spells of binding, to force the screaming energies of Ymir to coalesce into the stable forms of the 9 realms. But it's like trying to build a dam against a never-ending flood. For every tear in reality he mends, to more open up. The universe is screaming, and he is losing. This is when the inspiration strikes him, born of pure, desperate pragmatism. He cannot defeat the chaos with force. He cannot bind it with magic. But perhaps he can soothe it, like a father calming a hysterical child. He needs a tool, an instrument that can resonate with the chaos, match its dissonant frequency, and then guide it back to harmony. He needs the Vind-Hjarta. He looks at the crystalline tears of Ymir, weeping from the scar. He realizes that this substance, this solidified grief, is the only thing in the cosmos that resonates perfectly with the pain of the dying primordial world. It is the chaos's own sorrow given form. This is the bizarre and macabre detail at the heart of it all. To calm the storm, Odin must wield the very sadness that the storm is made of. The vision flashes forward again. You are shown the forging. Not in the smoky, industrial depths of a dwarven forge, but in a place of impossible, terrifying power. Odin is holding a branch he has taken from the living wood of Yggdrasil itself. He has carved it into the shape of a hammer. He then takes a single, massive, perfectly formed crystal of Ymir's tear, and using his own divine life force as a forge fire, he embeds it into the head of the hammer. The process is agonizing. You see Odin screaming in pain as he forces the two opposing concepts, the vibrant life of Yggdrasil and the profound grief of the dead Ymir, to merge. Then you see a third element introduced. The final piece of the puzzle. Odin holds the newly forged inert hammer and looks up at the sky. A star is dying. A distant, brilliant sun is collapsing in on itself, preparing to go supernova. Odin reaches out with his will, a feat of power that dwarfs anything Thor has ever witnessed. He doesn't just draw on the star's energy, he captures its heart. The final, transcendent moment of a star's life. The point where it collapses into either a neutron star or a black hole is a moment of perfect, absolute density and silence. It is a moment of pure potential. He pulls this star heart, this pinpoint of collapsed reality, from the dying sun across the void of space and channels it into the hammer. The star heart does not power the hammer. It awakens it. It acts as the soul, the animating principle, giving the hammer the consciousness it needs to listen, to learn, and to sing its song of harmony. The vision ends. Thor is left on his knees before the fissure, gasping, the sheer weight of the revelation pressing down on him. The giant's dying words were not metaphor. Starheart hammer. The forging was real. It was done by Odin, using a dying star's heart to quell the chaos of his own making. Vind-Hjarta was never meant to be a weapon. It was an emergency measure. A cosmic defibrillator. A tool created to clean up the All-Father's greatest and most secret mess. But the question that burns brighter than any dying star in Thor's mind is this. If this hammer was created to save the cosmos from the chaos of Odin's original sin, why was it hidden? Why was its existence and the existence of the woman whose essence was so similar to it, so brutally and systematically erased? The memory of the forging recedes, leaving Thor kneeling in the spectral pale light of Yggdrasil's scar. You feel the universe snap back into focus around him, the low moan of the wounded tree a constant. Sorrowful reminder of the truth he has just witnessed. Vind-Hjarta was not a weapon. It was an instrument of cosmic repair, forged by Odin in a moment of supreme desperation to correct his own catastrophic mistake. The Allfather, in his bid for power, had nearly unmade reality, and this hammer, the Vind-Hjarta, was the tool he built to stitch it back together. The revelation is earth-shattering, reframing the very foundation of Asgard's power. It wasn't born of righteous victory, but of a panicked cover-up. This new knowledge ripples backward through Thor's quest, recontextualizing everything he has learned. The phantom note he heard from Mjölnir was not an echo of a missing piece of his hammer. It was the sound of Mjölnir's cage failing, allowing a single, resonant cry from the prisoner within to escape. The Dwarven Forgemaster's regret was not just that of an artist forced to compromise his vision. It was the shame of a creator who had helped build a prison for a power he revered. The false memory of the singing flowers was not just a distraction. It was a carefully constructed parody of Vind-Hjarta's true function, a beautiful lie designed to make the real, messy, and complicated truth of creation seem unappealing. In Jarnsaxa, her connection to all of this becomes terrifyingly clear. She was not just a giantess he once loved. She was a living embodiment of the same creative, harmonious power as the hammer. Her spirit, her essence, her very soul sang the same song. She was a walking, breathing Vind-Hjarta. Standing up, Thor feels a profound seismic shift in his perception of his father. He had always seen Odin as a king, a strategist, a figure of ultimate authority and wisdom. He now sees him as a cosmic pragmatist of terrifying proportions, a leader who would commit an atrocity and then, with no hint of remorse, harness the sorrow from that atrocity to secure his own power. There is a bizarre historical parallel in the mortal realm in the practice of spolia. This was the ancient Roman and medieval custom of taking stones, columns, and sculptures from older pagan buildings and incorporating them into new churches. It was both a practical act of recycling materials and a powerful symbolic act of dominance, showing the new faith literally built upon the ruins of the old. Odin did not just build his world on Ymir's corpse. He used the choicest, most spiritually significant pieces of the old reality to reinforce his new one. And then, another memory surfaces, triggered by the truth of the forging. It is a memory of his own, a real one, not an implant. It is from his youth, long before he was the famed god of thunder. He is in this very place, at the scar on Yggdrasil. But he is not alone. Jarnsaxa is with him. She had brought him here, her face a mask of solemn reverence. She had explained the nature of the place, the story of Ymir, not as a glorious creation myth, but as a tragedy. She had shown him how to listen to the tree's sorrow, how to feel the pain of the wound. She had placed her hand on the weeping fissure, and instead of recoiling, she had hummed a low, gentle melody. And for a moment, the weeping had slowed. The dissonance had softened. The pale, dead wood had seemed to regain a flicker of warmth. He hadn't understood it then. He had seen it as a strange, incomprehensible piece of giant magic. He sees it now for what it was. She was healing it. She was naturally, instinctively doing what Vind-Hjarta had been built to do. This is why Odin feared her. This is why she had to be erased. She was living proof that the power to create and harmonize was not a force that needed to be contained within an object, controlled by a god. It was a natural, innate part of the cosmos, a power that could be born into any being, even a giantess, the sworn enemies of his new order. She was a threat to his monopoly on creative power. She was a walking, talking refutation of his entire worldview. As this devastating realization settles, another vision floods Thor's mind. This one is not a memory of the past. It is a direct consequence of his new understanding. The pieces of the puzzle he has gathered, the phantom note, the giants whisper, the forbidden text, the forge masters regret, the false memory, the name from Garmr, the vision from the ironwood. The truth of the forging all snap together and they form a key that unlocks one of Odin's deepest, most complex spells of concealment. The vision is of Mjölnir. It's not the hammer in his hand, but the concept of it. He sees it for what it truly is, a magnificent, ornate, and incredibly powerful decoy. Its purpose was never just to be a weapon. Its primary function was to be famous. Its purpose was to fill the songs of bards, the prayers of mortals, and the minds of the gods with its thunderous legend. It was created to be so loud, so destructive, so undeniably present in the consciousness of the 9 realms that it would completely overshadow the existence of its silent, creative twin. Mjölnir is the grandest deception of all. It is a weapon of mass distraction. It is a lie so loud it deafens you to the truth. By making Thor the god of thunder, the glorious celebrated destroyer, Odin ensured he would never think to look for a power of quiet creation. He hid the truth of Vind-Hjarta by burying it under the legend of Mjölnir. He hid Thor's true potential as a creator by turning him into the perfect destroyer. Thor looks down at the hammer in his hand, the symbol of his strength, the focus of his identity, the weapon that has defined his entire existence. It now feels like a betrayal, beautifully crafted lie that he has lovingly carried for centuries. The weight of it is no longer the weight of power, but the weight of a cage he never knew he was in. But the question that now burns with the heat of a supernova in his soul is this: if his entire identity as a warrior god was a lie constructed to hide his true potential, then who is he really? And what will he become when he finally casts off the lie and claims the truth? The revelation settles, not like dust, but like shackles. Mjölnir, the symbol of his very being, is a lie. You stand with Thor in the sorrowful silence of Yggdrasil's scar, feeling the foundations of his world crumble to ash. Every victory, every shattered mountain, every defeated fit was all part of a grand misdirection. A cosmic stage play designed by his own father to keep him from realizing his true nature. He is a creator who has been forced to believe he is a destroyer. The psychological weight of this is immense. It's as if a master painter had been convinced his only purpose was to break rocks. His hands, capable of sublime creation, used only for mindless destruction. The anger that rises in him is cold and sharp, a stark contrast to his usual hot-headed rage. This is the anger of betrayal, the deepest and most personal of wounds. He looks at Mjölnir, the heavy dark iron in his hand. For centuries its weight was a comfort, a confirmation of his strength and purpose. Now it feels like a parasite, a dead thing he has been carrying, believing it to be a part of himself. The deception is so complete, so elegantly woven into the fabric of his life, that he can only feel a sort of horrified admiration for his father's cunning. Odin did not just lie to him, he built him a new identity, gave him a new soul, and made him love it. This is the core of the All-Father's power, not just mastery over magic, but mastery over narrative. He doesn't just defeat his enemies, he rewrites their stories. This entire conspiracy explains a bizarre and quirky detail about Thor that has always been a source of private confusion for him: his fits of melancholy. After the greatest of battles, after the roar of victory has faded, he has often found himself descending into a state of profound, inexplicable sadness. The other gods saw it as battle weariness, the exhaustion of a warrior. He now sees it for what it was, a form of soul sickness, his true nature, his innate essence as a creator and a harmonizer. Was recoiling in horror from the acts of destruction he was forced to commit. Spirit was grieving for the worlds he broke, even as his mind celebrated the victory. The phantom note he heard was not the first time his true self had tried to cry out. It was just the first time he had been ready to listen. Armed with this terrible clarity, he knows his next step. The journey of discovery is over. The time for seeking knowledge has passed. Now he must seek the truth itself. The object, the hammer. He has seen its purpose. He has witnessed its forging. He has understood the reason for its concealment. But he still does not know where it is. He closes his eyes, shutting out the weeping scar and the impossible scale of Yggdrasil. He turns his senses inward, focusing on the web of revelations in his mind. The resonance that has guided him, the song of the Vind-Hjarta, is no longer a faint, distant pull. Now that he understands its nature, its origin, its purpose, he can hear it clearly. It is a pure, steady hum on the edge of his perception. It is not coming from any of the 9 realms. It is not in Asgard, nor Jotunheim, nor the dark forges of Nidavellir. It is coming from a place that is nowhere. A place outside the established geography of the cosmos, pocket dimension. A hidden fold in the fabric of space-time. Odin had not simply hidden the hammer. He had cut it out of reality and pasted it into a bespoke, isolated void. This explains why no one has ever stumbled upon it, why not even Heimdall with his all-seeing eyes has ever glimpsed it. You cannot see a place that does not technically exist in your same plane of reality. The hum of the hammer is a beacon, a key. Now that Thor is attuned to its frequency, he can feel the edges of this hidden space. He can feel the seam where Odin stitched the void to the main reality. It is a subtle wrongness, a place where the laws of physics feel thin and stretched. He focuses his will, his divine energy, not into a bolt of lightning, but into a resonant pulse. Mirroring the hum of the hammer, he is not trying to break down a door. He is trying to match the vibrational password of the lock. For a moment, nothing happens. Then the world in front of him shimmers, like heat haze on a summer road. The air rips open, does not form a portal of light or a swirling vortex. It is a silent, seamless tearing of space itself, revealing not darkness, but an unnerving, featureless expanse of pure white emptiness. A canvas with no painting on it. He steps through the tear. The transition is disorienting. There is no up or down, no forward or back. There is no sense of distance or scale. The only thing that exists in this white void is a single object, floating in the center of the nothingness. It is Vind-Hjarta, the Wind-Heart. It hangs there, motionless, waiting. It is exactly as he saw it in the vision. Carved from the living wood of Yggdrasil, its grains swirling with trapped starlight, its heart is single. Massive crystal of Ymir's tear that pulses with a gentle, rhythmic light. It is beautiful, ancient, and radiates a power that is both overwhelming and profoundly peaceful. As he drifts closer, he feels the hammer's consciousness. It is not sentient in the way a person is. It is aware. It has been waiting. It recognizes his presence, his resonance. It knows he is the one for whom it was ultimately intended. The son whose creative potential Odin both feared and perhaps secretly hoped would one day be realized. This must be the final test. To claim it, to simply reach out and take it, but as he extends his hand, a figure coalesces from the white emptiness between him and the hammer. The figure is indistinct at first, a shimmering outline of a person. Then it solidifies. It is a woman. And as her features resolve into focus, Thor's heart stops. It is Jarnsaxa. But not the Jarnsaxa of his fragmented memories. The fierce, laughing giantess. This is a spectral, translucent echo of her. Her face a mask of infinite sadness and eternal duty. She is not alive. She is a guardian, an eternal, conscious will bound to this place. The question that now hangs in the silent, white void. A question laden with 1,000 years of lies and a love that was stolen from reality is a devastating one. Was this her final fate? To be made the spectral jailer of the very power she embodied? Forced to guard the symbol of a future that Odin had denied her? The silence of the white void is absolute. A perfect, unnerving stillness. You are suspended with Thor in this pocket of non-reality, face to face with the spectral echo of the woman he has been desperately seeking. It is Jarnsaxa, yet it is not. Her form shimmers with a faint ethereal light, her eyes holding not the fire of her giant kin, but the profound, weary calm of a being who has stood vigil for millennia. She is a ghost, but not of a person who has died. She is the ghost of a possibility, a lingering will bound to this place. She is the final lock on the cage, the last guardian of Vind-Hjarta. You came, her voice whispers, not through the air, but directly into his mind, the same way Loki's did. It is a voice made of memory and starlight, tinged with a sorrow so deep it feels like a fundamental property of this hidden dimension. I knew you would. Eventually. Thor drifts closer, his heart a cold knot in his chest. The sight of her, so close yet so impossibly far, is a torment beyond any physical blow. Jarnsaxa, he breathes, the name a prayer in the emptiness.
What has he done to you?
A sad, faint smile touches her spectral lips. The Allfather does not destroy what he can use, she replies, her thoughts flowing into his. He saw the resonance between us. The hammer and me. We sang the same song. A song of creation that he could not control. He could not unmake me, not entirely. The roots of my being were too deep in the iron wood, too connected to the old magic. So he did the next best thing. He separated me. Her explanation unfolds in his mind, not as words, but as a cascade of understanding. When Odin realized he could not silence her innate creative power, he performed a terrifying act of psychic surgery. He separated her soul from her physical body. Her name, her story. He cast it all into the river of time, scoured and erased. But her will, her consciousness? The very essence of her being that was so attuned to the song of creation that he could not destroy. So he repurposed it, bound it here in this void, and made her the guardian of the one thing that was her vibrational twin. He turned her into the warden of her own stolen potential. It is a punishment of poetic, unspeakable cruelty. He did not imprison her in a dungeon of stone, but in a prison made of her own essence. This reveals a truly bizarre and horrific aspect of Odin's magic. It operates on a principle of twisted conservation. No energy is wasted. A rebellious spirit is not crushed. It is repurposed into a component of the system it rebels against. It is the ultimate act of psychological dominance. The historical equivalent is the macabre practice of creating a sansa, or shrunken head, by certain Amazonian tribes. They believed that by shrinking the head of an enemy, they could trap the victim's spirit and force it to serve the shrinker. Odin has done a divine version of this to Jarnsaxa's soul. He was afraid, she continues, her form flickering with a pulse of ancient anger. Not of me, not of the hammer. He was afraid of what we represented, the possibility of a power he did not orchestrate, a harmony he did not compose, the universe singing a song of its own free will. She looks past Thor, her gaze unfocused, as if seeing the shape of her own erased past. He feared we could mend the wound. The great scar, that if the cosmos could be healed, his own violent act of creation would be revealed for the crime it was. His legitimacy is built upon the lie that the universe needs his brand of violent, patriarchal order. A world healed by a giantess and a gentle hammer would prove him obsolete. Thor feels a wave of pure, undiluted fury wash over him. It is a rage so profound it threatens to destabilize the very fabric of this fragile dimension. He looks at Mjölnir in his hand, the symbol of the lie, and for a moment, he wants to hurl it into the void, to shatter this pocket reality and take Odin's secrets with it. Jarnsaxa's spectral form drifts closer, her translucent hand rising to almost touch his cheek. "No, my love," she whispers, the endearment a shard of glass in his heart. Rage is his language. You cannot defeat him by speaking it. That is the first trial. It's the one he expects you to fail. She gestures toward the silently pulsing hammer floating between them. That is not just an object. It is a question. Bride, darling mine, I know, I'm so worried about it. I am sad, and since I once to claim it, you must shed the identity he gave you. You must let go of the anger, the pride, the very idea of yourself as a warrior. You must become a listener, a harmonizer. You must become what you were always meant to be. This is the trial. It is not a battle of strength or a test of worthiness in the way lifting Mjölnir was. It is a test of identity, a psychological crucible. To take hold of Vind-Hjarta, he must willingly and completely let go of Thor, the god of thunder. He must effectively kill the part of himself that has defined his entire existence. He has to stand naked, stripped of his story, his legend, and his name, and see what remains. He looks from her sorrowful, expectant face to the humming, peaceful hammer. He understands. This is his choice. He can remain the hero Asgard knows, the beloved son, the mighty Thor. Forever trapped in the gilded cage of his father's lie, or he can let that identity die, here and now, in this silent white void, and claim a truth that will make him an enemy of his king, his people, and his own past. He has spent his entire life fighting external monsters. Now, the final enemy is himself, his own ego, his own legend. He closes his eyes. He takes a deep breath, though there is no air to breathe. He remembers the feeling of Mjölnir slapping into his palm, the familiar, brutal comfort of its power. He remembers the roar of the crowds, the songs of the bards, the fear in his enemy's eyes. He holds all of it in his mind, the grand tapestry of his life as a warrior god. And then, with a silent, deliberate act of will, he lets it all go. He releases his grip on the story. He allows the identity of Thor to dissolve, to flake away from his consciousness like old dried paint. It is an act of profound, terrifying surrender. But the question that remains, as his very sense of self begins to unravel in the absolute stillness, is a terrifying one. When a god lets go of his own story, what, if anything, is left behind? The process of letting go is not an explosion. It is a quiet, terrifying dissolution. You are inside Thor's consciousness as he undergoes this trial of self-abnegation. The identity of Thor, god of thunder, is not a monolith. It is a complex architecture of memories, beliefs, and ingrained responses. He dismantles it, piece by piece. The pride of the warrior, the thrill of the fight, the righteous fury, he acknowledges each part of himself and then willingly releases his claim on it. It is like peeling away layers of skin until only the raw, vulnerable truth remains. The memories of his battles lose their emotional charge, becoming simple, factual records of events. The name Thor becomes just a sound, stripped of its mythic weight. The very concept of strength as physical force begins to feel alien, a crude and inefficient form of power. This is a psychological state that has parallels in the meditative practices of mortal monks, who seek to achieve a state of anatta, or no self, to escape the cycle of suffering by dissolving the ego. But for a god, a being whose very existence is tied to their name, their story, their domain, this is an act of profound risk. A god without a story is a god without power, a forgotten deity fading into the mists of time. You feel his essence thinning, his divine energy signature. Once a roaring bonfire of thunder and lightning, fading to a gentle, steady glow, he is becoming a blank slate, a quiet space in the cosmos. He is no longer Thor, the son of Odin. He is simply a presence, a point of awareness in the white void. The spectral form of Jarnsaxa watches, her sad eyes filled with a mixture of hope and fear. This is the moment of truth. Will he dissolve completely, his consciousness dissipating into the void, having shed the only identity that gave it structure? Or will something else, something more fundamental, remain? For a long, silent moment, it seems as if he might simply vanish. His form becomes translucent, almost indistinguishable from the white emptiness around him. He has let go of the lie. But is there a truth underneath? Then a new feeling begins to coalesce. It is not an emotion like pride or anger. It is a deeper sensation, a fundamental state of being. It is a feeling of profound, unshakable connection. He feels his awareness extending beyond the confines of his own fading form. He feels the silent, pulsing hum of Vind-Hjarta. He feels the sorrowful, patient vigil of Jarnsaxa's will. Feels the faint, distant moan of Yggdrasil's scar. Feels the rustling of the iron leaves in Jarnviar. He feels the silent screams of the reality storms that Odin is constantly, secretly fighting to keep at bay. He feels it all, not as separate events, but as a single interconnected symphony of existence. His identity is no longer Thor, the warrior. His new identity is this very network of connections. He is not a noun, he is a verb. He is the act of listening, of feeling, of connecting. He has passed the trial. He has not destroyed himself. He has found his true self, the self that existed before Odin's story was forced upon him. The god of thunder is dead. The god of connection is born. As this new state of being solidifies, the spectral form of Jarnsaxa smiles, a true, radiant smile of profound relief. The centuries of sorrow in her eyes are washed away by a wave of triumphant love. You remembered, she whispers into his mind. Not the lie. You remembered you. The pocket dimension itself seems to respond to his transformation. The stark, featureless white void softens. A gentle, warm light begins to suffuse the space, and the silence is broken by a low, beautiful, resonant hum. It is the song of Vind-Hjarta, now free to sing aloud, its melody no longer just a faint whisper, but a full-throated chorus of creation. The hammer, which had been floating motionlessly, now drifts toward him, drawn not by a command, but by a natural, irresistible affinity. It is a key returning to its lock. He reaches out his hand, the hand that is no longer just the hand of a warrior. As his fingers close around the living wood of the hammer's shaft, there is no jolt of power, no clap of thunder. There is only a feeling of absolute, perfect rightness, a feeling of coming home. The hammer feels like an extension of his own arm, a part of his own being that has been missing his entire life. The crystal in its head pulses with a warm, golden light, its rhythm syncing perfectly with the new, steady rhythm of his own soul. He holds in his hand the power to mend the fabric of reality, to soothe the storms of chaos, to sing a song of creation that can heal the oldest wounds of the cosmos. He looks at Jarnsaxa's spectral form, and with the new clarity of his perception, he sees the threads of Odin's magic that bind her here. He sees how her will has been twisted into a warden's curse. He lifts Vind-Hjarta. He does not swing it, does not channel power through it. He simply holds it and intends. He intends for her to be free. He plays a single, pure note on the strings of reality, a note of release, of untying, of forgiveness. The ethereal chains of Odin's magic dissolve like smoke. Jarnsaxa's form shimmers, brightens, and for a moment, it becomes solid, real. The sad, spectral guardian is gone, and the fierce, laughing giantess of his memory stands before him, her eyes full of life and love. It is just for a second, a single, perfect heartbeat in the heart of the void. She reaches out and touches his face, a real, physical touch. "Go," she says, her voice a real, audible sound. "Sing our song." And then her form dissolves, not into a ghost, but into a shower of brilliant golden motes of light that flow into the crystal heart of the hammer. Joining with it, becoming one with it, her will is no longer a prisoner. It is a part of the power willingly. Thor is alone now, holding the Vind-Hjarta. Jarnsaxa is not gone. She is with him, her essence intertwined with the tool of their shared purpose. But the question that now hangs in the glowing, humming void is one of immense consequence. Now that he has claimed his true power and shed his old identity, what is his first act as this new being? Does he return to Asgard to confront his father, or does he turn his attention to the wounds of the universe that have been festering for eons? The feeling of holding Vind-Hjarta is a revelation. Unlike Mjölnir, which felt like a dense, brutal weight in his hand, a tool of external force, the Vind-Hjarta feels like a part of his own circulatory system. Feel its gentle, rhythmic pulse resonating up his arm and into his chest, a second heartbeat in perfect sync with his own. The crystal embedded in its head, now infused with the willing essence of Jarnsaxa, glows with a soft, golden light, radiating a warmth that feels like love and a hum that sounds like peace. This is not a weapon to be wielded. It is an instrument to be played. He has passed the trial, stripped away the lie of the warrior god, and claimed his true self. But the new Thor, a being he does uneven have a name for, yet is not a creature of impulse. The old Thor would have immediately sought confrontation, his rage a thunderous storm descending upon Asgard. This new being is defined by connection, by listening. He stands in the silent, glowing void, the pocket dimension that was once Jarnsaxa's prison, and he simply listens. With Vind-Hjarta in his hand, his senses are magnified 1,000-fold. He can hear the symphony of the cosmos, the intricate, beautiful, and often painful music of the 9 realms. He hears the silent, shuffling despair of the souls in Helheim. He hears the greedy gnawing of the serpent, Gnggr, at the root of Yggdrasil. He hears the frantic, desperate calculations of his father, Odin, as he shores up the magical dams against the ever-present threat of reality storms. He hears the fear, the love, the ambition, and the pain of every living being, from the lowest mortal to the highest god. It is an overwhelming torrent of information, a cacophony that would have shattered the mind of the old Thor. But this new being, this god of connection, can perceive the underlying harmony within the noise. He can see how all the pieces, even the most painful and chaotic ones, fit together into a single, vast, and incomprehensible song. His first act is not one of vengeance or confrontation. It is an act of quiet, profound purpose. It is an act of healing. He thinks of the great scar on Yggdrasil, the weeping wound from the murder of Ymir, the source of the crystal in his hammer. It is the original sin, the foundational trauma of this age. It is the wound that Odin's entire reign is predicated upon hiding and managing, but never truly healing. He decides that this is where he must begin. He must address the cause, not just the symptoms. He raises Vind-Hjarta. He does not point it like a weapon. He holds it aloft like a conductor's baton, feeling the dissonant. Sorrowful moan of the scar is a specific, painful note in the cosmic symphony. He does not try to silence the note, does not try to overpower it. He listens to it, feels its shape, its texture, its color. He understands its pain. Then, using the hammer as a focal point, he begins to sing his own note. It is not a sound made with his voice. It is a pure resonant frequency projected from his own soul, a frequency of empathy, of acknowledgement, of profound, unconditional acceptance of the pain. He is not trying to fix the wound. He is offering it comfort. You are transported with his consciousness back to the scar on the world tree. The landscape of pale, dead wood is unchanged. The crystalline tears of Ymir still weep from the fissure. But now, a new element is introduced. A gentle, golden light, emanating from Thor's distant, focused intention, begins to suffuse the area. A low, resonant hum, the song of Vind-Hjarta, fills the air, weaving itself around the scar's dissonant moan. It is a harmony of opposites, a chord of sorrow and peace played on a cosmic scale. For the first time in eons, the weeping slows. The flow of crystalline tears does not stop, but it becomes less frantic, less agonizing. The deep, sorrowful moan of the tree softens, its sharp edges of pain smoothed away by the gentle, persistent hum of the hammer. He is not erasing the scar. He is teaching it how to be a scar, how to integrate its trauma into the whole of its being. Rather than remaining a pocket of perpetual agony, this is the true power of Vind-Hjarta. It does not perform miracles, it facilitates healing, which is the ultimate therapist for a traumatized reality. This act has a bizarre, unforeseen consequence. The crystalline tears of Ymir as they form are no longer cold, sharp, and full of grief. The new tears, formed under the influence of the hammer's song, are warm. They are no longer gems of sorrow, but pearls of accepted melancholy. This subtle chemical and spiritual change sends a ripple of change throughout the very nature of magic in the 9 realms. This substance, this grief of a dead god, has been used as a power source for countless dark spells and enchantments. Now the nature of that power source has been fundamentally altered. Across the cosmos, ancient curses begin to lose their potency. Dark rituals fail, and enchantments built on pain and sorrow begin to unravel. Without intending to, he has begun to disarm the darkest arsenals of the gods. Back in the void, he lowers the hammer. The effort has not tired him. It has energized him. He feels more himself, more purposeful than ever before. He has taken his first step, not as a warrior, but as a mender. He has begun to sing his song, a song that Jarnsaxa is now a part of. He has announced his new purpose to the cosmos, not with a clap of thunder, but with a whisper of healing. But the question that now arises, as the ripples of his first act spread across the 9 realms, is a critical one. While he has been busy healing the past, what has the All-Father, the Master of Lies and the King of Asgard, been doing now that he has undoubtedly felt the awakening of the one power he has spent an eternity trying to suppress? While Thor is immersed in his first act of cosmic healing, a very different kind of energy is stirring in the heart of Asgard. You are torn from the tranquil, golden light of the healing scar and plunged into the cold, calculating mind of the All-Father. Odin is in his throne room, Helheim Skagel live, but he is not looking out over the 9 realms. His one good eye is closed, his consciousness turned inward, his brow furrowed in a mask of intense concentration and dawning fury. He has felt it. The moment Vind-Hjarta was claimed, it was as if a continental shelf had shifted in the ocean of cosmic magic. A power that had been dormant and contained for millennia was now awake, active, and singing a song that he had done everything in his power to silence. He feels the shift in the nature of Ymir's tears, feels the subtle unraveling of ancient wards and sorrow-fueled curses across the realms, feels the resonance of the hammer, a frequency he knows with terrifying intimacy. Now intertwined with a second signature, the consciousness of his own son. The betrayal is absolute. His son, his greatest creation, his perfect weapon of mass distraction, has broken free of the narrative he so carefully constructed. The pawn has become a player, and worse, a player with an entirely different set of rules. Odin's first reaction is not panic, it is a cold, methodical assessment of the new strategic reality. He has spent eons playing a game of cosmic chess against forces of chaos and oblivion, and this is simply a new, unexpected move from his opponent, or rather a new opponent altogether, opens his eye, and it burns with a cold blue fire. He rises from his throne. The air in the throne room crackles with barely contained power. His two ravens, Hug in thought and Mjölnir in memory, who fly across the worlds to bring him news, are perched on the back of his throne. They have not moved. They do not need to. They are extensions of his own consciousness, and they have already shown him everything. They showed him Thor entering the Forbidden Archive. They showed him the ghost in Nidavellir. They showed him the descent into Helheim and the bargain with Garmr. They showed him the meeting in the Ironwood. Odin has been watching the entire game unfold. This is a chilling revelation. Odin was not ignorant of Thor's quest. He allowed it. This has not been a case of a prisoner escaping his cell. This has been a case of a master allowing his student to solve a complex puzzle, waiting to see what conclusions he would draw. This is a classic Odin maneuver, a historical strategy seen in the Norse sagas where he often appears in disguise, testing the wits and worthiness of heroes, manipulating events from the shadows. He doesn't command, he guides. He doesn't forbid, makes things difficult, believing that strength and wisdom earned through struggle are the only kind that last. But why? Why allow Thor to uncover the one secret that could dismantle his entire reign? The answer lies in his fear. Not his fear of the hammer, but his fear of what the hammer was built to fight. He turns and walks from the throne room, his heavy golden armor appearing on his body as if summoned from thought alone. His great spear, Gungnir, which never misses its mark, materializes in his hand. He is not preparing for a fight with his son. He is preparing for the consequence of his son's actions. He descends into the deepest, most secret vaults beneath Asgard, a place even Thor does not know exists. It is not a treasury or an armory. It is a containment facility. The air here is cold and sterile, and the only light comes from the glowing runes of immense, powerful wards etched into the obsidian walls. In the center of the largest chamber, floating in a state of suspended animation, are beings. They are not gods, not giants, not mortals. They are creatures of pure, chaotic geometry, beings of impossible angles and dissonant colors that hurt the eyes to look at. They are the auditors of reality, the cosmic beings from a higher dimension, whose existence is predicated on the universe adhering to a strict, sterile set of physical laws. They are the ones who are drawn to the chaos of Ymir's death, not to revel in it, but to erase it, to sterilize the failed experiment of the Nine Realms, and return this sector of the cosmos to a state of quiet, ordered nullity. This is Odin's deepest, most guarded secret. Vind-Hjarta was not just created to soothe the chaos of Ymir's death, it was created to hide that chaos from them. The hammer's song of harmony was a cloaking device, a magical all is well signal broadcast across the dimensions to keep these sterile cosmic horrors from noticing that this corner of reality was fundamentally broken and in violation of their laws. It was a lie sung to the auditors. Now, Thor, in his noble, naive act of healing, is changing the song. He is not broadcasting a lie of all is well. He is broadcasting a new truth of we are healing, a truth that acknowledges the wound. And this new song, this honest melody, is a beacon. It is a signal to the auditors that the anomaly they were once alerted to is active again. In his chamber, Odin watches as the containment fields around one of the geometric horrors begins to flicker. The being which had been dormant begins to slowly, silently rotate. It has heard the new song. It is waking up. Odin's fear is now laid bare. It was never about his own power or his own legacy, or rather those things were secondary. His entire reign, his lies, his manipulations, his turning his own son into a living weapon, it was all part of a desperate, millennial-long strategy to prevent the Nine Realms from being sanitized out of existence by these unfeeling cosmic exterminators. He chose the lie not because he is evil, but because he believed the beautiful, chaotic, living truth was too dangerous to be allowed to exist. He chose to be a tyrant to prevent an apocalypse. The choice he now faces is a terrible one. But the question that echoes in the silent, terrifying vault beneath.
Asgard is one of brutal pragmatism.
To save his creation from the auditors, must he now go to war with his own son, and forcibly silence the one power that can truly heal the universe. The revelation of Odin's true motive is a bombshell that reorients the entire conflict. You were torn from the sterile, terrifying vault of the auditors, and returned to the silent void, where Thor, the being that was Thros, coming to terms with his new power. He has just completed his first act of healing, and the sense of purpose and rightness it has given him is profound. He is unaware of the cosmic alarms he has just triggered. He is focused on the next logical step, a step guided by the essence of Jarnsaxa and now fused with the hammer's heart. He must find her, not her will which is with him, but her physical form, her body, the vessel that was cast adrift in the river of time. He holds Vind-Hjarta, the tool of connection, and extends his senses once more. He is not searching for a place or a person, but for a specific, unique signature of erasure. He is looking for the hole in the tapestry of fate where Jarnsaxa's thread was ripped out. He finds it. It is not a single point in time, but a smeared, chaotic wound across the timeline, a testament to the brutal, messy nature of the magic that was used to unmake her. He focuses his will, a quiet, insistent pressure, not to travel through time, but to pull the memory of her location from the chaotic currents. A vision floods his mind. He sees a desolate, forgotten corner of Jotunheim, a barren wasteland of wind-eroded rock and black sand. In the center of this wasteland is a small, unremarkable hut made of petrified wood and animal hides. Inside, on a simple cot, lies a woman. She is sleeping. It is her. It is Jarnsaxa's physical body. She is not dead. She is not alive. She is in a state of perfect, enchanted stasis. Her heart beating only once per century, her lungs drawing a single breath per millennium. Odin did not destroy her body. He preserved it, hiding it away in a place of such profound insignificance that no one would ever think to look. It is another example of his twisted, pragmatic conservation. Why destroy a useful vessel? But as Thor focuses on the vision, he sees that she is not alone. Standing guard outside the hut is a figure. A warrior, clad in simple, functional armor, a sword strapped to his back. The figure turns, as if sensing his remote observation, and Thor's non-existent heart plummets. It is Heimdall, the ever-watchful guardian of the Bifrost, the god whose senses perceive all, is her jailer. The betrayal is a fresh, sharp wound. Heimdall, the silent, honorable watcher, the one being in Asgard Thor had always trusted implicitly, is a part of this. It was Heimdall who guarded the Bifrost when Jarnsaxa was cast out. It was Heimdall whose sight could have followed her, but he reported nothing. His silence was not ignorance, it was complicity. This detail is a bizarre and tragic perversion of Heimdall's nature. In the myths, he is the guardian of the threshold between the realms, the protector of divine order. Here he is, the guardian of a single sleeping woman, his cosmic duty reduced to the role of a prison guard. He is protecting the secret of Odin's lie. Thor feels a surge of the old anger, a ghost of his former self rising up. The desire to confront Heimdall, to demand an explanation, is powerful, but he quells it. He has the power to simply appear there, to bring the full, awesome force of Vind-Hjarta to bear. But what would that accomplish? A fight. A battle with the one god in Asgard, who could potentially match him in a direct confrontation. That is the old way. That is Odin's game. The new being he is now operates on a different logic. He must understand why. Why would Heimdall, the epitome of loyalty and duty, betray his own principles to uphold Odin's lie? He focuses again, not on the scene itself, but on Heimdall. He extends his senses, his new power of connection, and gently listens to the guardian's soul. He does not invade his mind. He simply observes the emotional and spiritual resonance of the god. He feels Heimdall's profound, ancient weariness.
Ow.
He feels his unshakable sense of duty.
What?
And he feels something else, something shocking, a deep, abiding love. Not for Odin, not for Asgard, for Jarnsaxa. A new vision unfolds, this one from Heimdall's own past. He sees a younger Heimdall long before the erasure. He is in the Ironwood speaking with Jarnsaxa. They are friends. More than friends. There is a deep, powerful bond between them, a shared understanding of the older, deeper magics of the cosmos. Heimdall, born of 9 mothers who were giantesses, has always been half giant himself, a being caught between two worlds. He saw in Jarnsaxa a kindred spirit, another soul who straddled the line between the chaotic creation of the Jotner and the ordered world of the Aesir. He loved her. Then the vision shifts. He sees the moment of the erasure. Odin has just performed the terrible rite. Jarnsaxa's body lies in its enchanted sleep. Odin turns to Heimdall. He does not give him an order. He gives him a choice. Terrible, impossible choice. She is a threat to everything, Odin says, his voice cold and absolute. The auditors will come. Everything we have built, every life in every realm will be sterilized. I have preserved her body. Her will is contained. I need a guardian. Someone loyal. Someone strong. Someone who understands what is at stake. He offers Heimdall the role of her warden. Protect her, Odin says. Protect her from the world and protect the world from her. This will be your sacred duty, the highest duty of all. Heimdall, his heart broken, torn between his love for her and his duty to protect the 9 realms from the existential threat Odin has just revealed, accepts. He chose the greater good. He chose to become the jailer of the woman he loved, to save the universe from oblivion. His eternal silent vigil is not an act of betrayal. It is an act of supreme, heartbreaking sacrifice. Thor withdraws his senses, the weight of Heimdall's sacrifice settling upon him. This is the true, tragic complexity of his father's web of lies. It is not a simple story of a tyrant and his oppressed subjects. It is a story of good people forced to make impossible choices in the face of an unthinkable horror. Odin has trapped them all, not with chains, but with their own virtues. Thor's desire for purpose, Jarnsaxa's love, and Heimdall's sense of duty. He now understands he cannot simply go there and rescue her. To do so would be to undo Heimdall's sacrifice, and, if Odin is to be believed, unleash the very apocalypse the Allfather has been trying to prevent. The path forward is no longer a straight line. It is a tangled knot of love, duty, and cosmic terror. But the question that this new, compassionate being must now answer is perhaps the most difficult of all. How do you free the woman you love when her freedom might mean the end of all things? The revelation of Heimdall's tragic sacrifice hangs in the silent void, a testament to the devastating complexity of Odin's grand, terrible strategy. You feel the being that was Thor absorbing this new layer of truth. He cannot simply storm the prison and free the captive, for the jailer is as much a victim as the prisoner. And the prison itself may be the only thing holding back the end of the world. This is not a problem that can be solved with power, no matter how great. It is a moral and philosophical labyrinth. To save Jarnsaxa is to potentially condemn the 9 realms. To leave her in her enchanted sleep is to perpetuate Odin's cruel injustice. Stands in the glowing white emptiness, holding Vind-Hjarta, the tool that can soothe the storms of reality, and realizes he is at an impasse. The hammer in his hand feels heavier now, not with the dead weight of Mjölnir's lie, but with the immense living weight of responsibility. Jarnsaxa's essence, humming within the hammer's crystal heart, feels it too. She feels the truth of Heimdall's sacrifice, the terrible choice he was forced to make. There is no anger from her, only a profound shared sorrow. She who embodies harmony understands the tragic logic of sacrificing the one for the many. This is the true nature of the Windheart's power, he understands. It is not just a tool for mending cosmic tears. It is a tool for understanding. It allows him to see the intricate, interconnected web of cause and effect, of love and duty, of fear and sacrifice. It grants him a perspective that transcends the simplistic dualities of right and wrong, good and evil. He sees the situation not as a hero facing a villain, but as a doctor diagnosing a complex systemic illness. The illness is fear. Odin's fear of the auditors, Heimdall's fear of failing his duty. His own former fear of being anything less than the mighty Thor. Fear is the true enemy, the true source of dissonance in the cosmic song. His path forward becomes clear. Cannot choose between saving Jarnsaxa and saving the world. That is a false dichotomy, a trap laid by Odin's fearful, pragmatic worldview. He must do both. He must find a third way, a solution that does not accept the premise of his father's terrible equation. He must heal the fear itself. And the source of all of this, the patient zero of this epidemic of fear, is Odin. But he cannot confront his father as an enemy. He cannot come with accusations and threats of war. That would only validate Odin's belief that all power must eventually lead to conflict. He must approach him not as a vengeful son, but as a fellow being caught in a web of cosmic consequence. He must offer not a challenge, but a new possibility. First, he must claim his new self completely. The being that was Thor needs a name. Not a name given by a father or a culture, but a name that describes his new function, his new truth. He holds Vind-Hjarta aloft, and in the silent void, he names himself. The name is not a word to be spoken, but a concept to be understood. It is a name that means he who listens to the song or the harmonizer. It is a statement of purpose. With this act of self-naming, he solidifies his transformation, closing the final chapter on the god of thunder. Now he prepares to leave the void. He looks at Mjölnir, which has been floating inertly nearby, a relic of his former life. He knows he cannot simply discard it. It is too powerful, and it is still a part of the lie that holds the cosmos together. He reaches out and takes hold of its short, familiar handle. The hammer feels cold, dead, an empty shell. He holds Mjölnir in one hand and Vind-Hjarta in the other. Destruction and creation. The lie and the truth, the noise and the song. He holds the two core principles of his father's universe in his hands. With a thought, he dissolves the pocket dimension. The white void collapses, not with a bang, but with a gentle sigh. And he finds himself standing once more on the pale, dead ground of Yggdrasil's scar. The comforting, healing hum of his earlier work is still resonating here. He has a choice of where to go next. Could go to Jotunheim, to stand before Heimdall and the sleeping Jarnsaxa. He could go to Asgard, to the throne room of his father. Chooses Asgard. Conversation that must be had cannot happen at the site of the crime. It must happen at the seat of power. He takes a breath, and in the next instant, he is there. Not arriving on the Bifrost, not crashing down in a bolt of lightning, he simply is in the throne room of Helheim. He appears silently, a calm, steady presence in the heart of Odin's power. The Allfather is there, standing before his throne, clad in his full battle armor, Gungnir in his hand. He is not surprised. He was expecting him. The two beings face each other, father and son, king and heir. The architect of the lie and the embodiment of the truth. Odin's one eye is a vortex of ancient power and unimaginable weariness. He looks at the being before him, his son, and yet not his son. He looks at Vind-Hjarta, glowing with a gentle, golden light in his right hand, and at Mjölnir, dark and inert, in his left. He sees the new symmetry, the new balance. The game has changed. So Odin's voice is low, a rumble of ancient authority. You have unraveled the knot. You have claimed the power I hid. You have seen the truth I have fought to contain. And now you have come here to my hall with my two greatest creations in your hands. What now, son? Have you come to pass judgment? To wage a war for the throne? To tear down the kingdom I built on a foundation of necessary lies? The air crackles with tension. The fate of the 9 realms hangs on the answer to that question. But the question that the newly named harmonizer asks himself is not about war or judgment. It is a question of profound, compassionate strategy. How do you begin a conversation that will save the universe when the other person is already prepared for a war? The throne room of Asgard is a vortex of silent, contained power. You stand in the space between father and son, feeling the immense opposing forces they represent. On one side, Odin, the embodiment of pragmatic, forceful order, his entire being a fortress built to withstand an onslaught of cosmic horror. On the other, the being once known as Thor, now a vessel of resonant harmony, his power not a weapon to be aimed, but an atmosphere to be felt. Odin has asked if he has come for war. The old Thor would have answered with a roar and a swing of his hammer, but that Thor is gone. The harmonizer, the being who stands in his place, does not answer his father's question directly. To do so would be to engage in the dialectic of conflict, to accept the premise that this is a confrontation that must be won or lost. Instead, he performs a simple, profound action. He looks at Mjölnir, the dark, heavy lie in his left hand. He remembers the phantom note, the first loose thread that unraveled this entire tapestry of deception. He remembers the echo without a song. Now, holding the source of the song in his other hand, he understands the relationship between the two hammers perfectly. With a gentle, deliberate motion, he brings his two hands together, touching the head of Mjölnir to the crystalline heart of Vind-Hjarta. The effect is immediate and extraordinary. It is not an explosion of light or a cataclysm of energy. It is a sound. For the first time, the true sound of the two hammers joined is heard in the 9 realms. It is the sound of a paradox being resolved. The absolute, enforced silence at the core of Mjölnir is met by the pure, creative song of Vind-Hjarta. The nothingness is filled with harmony. The cage is opened by the songbird. The sound that fills the throne room is a chord of impossible richness and complexity, sound that contains both the roar of a supernova and the whisper of a newly opened flower. It is the sound of destruction and creation reconciled, existing not as opposites, but as two parts of a single unified function. This sound, this chord of resolved reality, is the true thunder. The sound that Thor had commanded for centuries was just a hollow, distorted echo of this, the sound of the cage rattling. This is the song itself, full and complete. As the chord washes through Asgard, everything changes. Golden halls seem to shimmer, their light becoming warmer, more alive. The eternally burning fires in the braziers flicker with new, vibrant colors. The tapestries on the walls, depicting great battles and victories, seem to soften. Their images of violence losing their glorious edge and taking on a hue of tragedy and sorrow, the very stones of Asgard, built on a live, violent creation, seem to sigh in relief as the truth finally resonates through them. Odin stumbles back a step, his one eye wide with a shock that transcends surprise and borders on religious awe. He has never heard this sound. Conceived of the two hammers, he commissioned one and forged the other, but he had always seen them as separate opposing forces. The cage and the bird, it had never occurred to him to bring them together, to harmonize them. His mind, for all its cunning, could only think in terms of control, of separation, of one force dominating another. The idea of synergy, of two opposing forces creating a new, greater whole, was alien to him. The harmonizer lowers the two hammers, the perfect chord slowly fading into a gentle, resonant hum that now permanently suffuses the hall. He looks at his father, his eyes filled not with accusation, but with a deep, compassionate understanding. You built a cage to hold the song. His thoughts flow into Odin's mind, calm and clear. I have come to teach the cage how to sing. This act, this demonstration, completely dismantles Odin's worldview. It bypasses all his arguments, all his justifications about necessary evils and the greater good. It presents a third option he had never conceived of, a reality where destruction and creation are not at war, but in concert. A reality where power does not have to be a zero-sum game. This is the true meaning of the lost power of Thor's hammer. It was not just the power of Vind-Hjarta that was lost. It was the power of the two hammers together, the power of reconciled duality. This moment echoes a quirky detail from Norse cosmology, the concept of the Ginnungagap. It was the great void that existed before creation, flanked on one side by the fiery heat of Muspelheim, and on the other by the freezing ice of Niflheim. Creation did not begin when one force conquered the other, but when the fire and ice met in the middle of the void, their opposition creating a new fertile substance from which Ymir was born. Odin, in his ambition, had forgotten the lesson of his own universe's birth, the auditors. Odin rasps, his voice losing its regal authority, becoming the voice of a tired, frightened old man. They will sense this new song. It is a song of a reality that does not follow their laws. They will come to sterilize it. Let them come, the harmonizer replies, his calm, unshakable. You tried to hide the wound from them with a lie of silence. We will show them a miracle of healing. We will not prove to them that we are orderly and sterile. We will prove to them that we are beautiful and alive. We will teach them a new song. He has laid his new philosophy bare. He will not fight the auditors. He will not hide from them. He will try to convert them. He will try to heal their sterile, loveless view of the cosmos by showing them a beauty they have never conceived of. It is an idea of such audacious, almost insane optimism that it leaves the master strategist, the king of pragmatists, utterly speechless. But the question that now hangs in the transformed throne room is the most important one yet. After eons of lies, fear, and control, is the All-Father capable of learning a new way? Can the architect of the cage accept the beauty of the song, or will his ingrained fear force him into one final, tragic conflict? The resonant hum of the two reconciled hammers fills the throne room, constant gentle pressure against Odin's centuries of fear and control. You watch as the All-Father, the architect of ages, visibly struggles with a concept that is completely alien to him: hope. His entire existence has been a grim, solitary war against chaos, a series of calculated losses and necessary evils. The idea of meeting an existential threat with a song of beauty rather than a wall of force is not just strategically unsound in his mind, it is fundamentally nonsensical. It is like trying to stop a tidal wave with a poem. "You are a fool," Odin finally says, his voice a low, ragged whisper. But the words lack their usual venom. It is a statement of disbelief, not condemnation. You do not know them. They are not beings you can reason with. They are not an army you can defeat. They are a principle. They are the cosmic law of entropy given consciousness. They do not conquer, they erase, they do not hate, they sterilize. To them, life, chaos, and beauty are a rounding error, a messy calculation that needs to be corrected back to zero. He gestures with his spear, Gungnir, toward the tapestries on the wall. Every battle I have fought, every kingdom I have built, every life I have sacrificed, it was all to keep them from noticing us. To maintain the illusion that this tiny corner of the cosmos was orderly, predictable, and not worth their attention. You, in your newfound enlightenment, have just lit a bonfire and invited them to dinner. The harmonizer listens, his calm unwavering. He understands his father's fear. He can feel it as a cold, jagged note in the symphony of the room. He does not argue, does not try to convince him with logic. Instead, he extends his power of connection toward his father, not to invade his mind, but to offer him a glimpse of what he can now perceive. For a single moment, Odin sees the universe through his son's eyes. He feels the intricate, interconnected web of all things. He feels the sorrow of the scar on Yggdrasil, not as a strategic weakness, but as a genuine pain that deserves compassion. He feels the steadfast, heartbreaking love of Heimdall's vigil, feels the fierce, creative joy that was Jarnsaxa's essence. And he feels the silent, screaming terror of the auditors, not as a monolithic threat, but as the fear of beings who exist in a state of perfect, sterile loneliness, terrified of the messy, unpredictable, and beautiful nature of life. He sees that they are not just a principle of entropy, they are its prisoners. The vision lasts only for a second, but it is enough. Odin stumbles, his spear clattering against the stone floor. The master of secrets, the king who has seen everything, has just been shown a truth that has been hidden from him his entire existence: the emotional truth of others. His one eye, usually a burning coal of strategic fury, is now wide with a dawning, terrifying empathy. He has spent his life managing the what of the universe, never stopping to understand the why. There, fear. Odin murmurs, the words catching in his throat. Fear is the dissonance, the harmonizer replies, his thoughts a gentle balm on his father's frayed psyche. It is the note that makes the song of the universe painful. It is the storm that I was born to soothe. It's not just the storms in reality, but the storms in the soul. That is the true power of the Vind-Hjarta. That is Jarnsaxa's legacy. In this moment of profound, shared understanding, a new sound intrudes. It is a high, thin, cutting frequency, like the sound of shattering glass in a vacuum. It slices through the gentle hum of the throne room, a spike of pure, sterile wrongness. The air grows cold. The warm, golden light of the hall dims, replaced by a harsh, colorless glare. From the very walls of the throne room, from the stones that make up the foundation of Asgard, dark, geometric shapes begin to emerge. They are not portals. The auditors are not arriving. They are manifesting, phasing into this reality from the inside out. One of the beings, a shifting, impossible construct of black triangles and razor-sharp lines, fully solidifies in the center of the room. It makes no sound, but its very presence screams a single silent command: CEASE, this is it. The moment Odin has feared for millennia, and the auditors have come. They have heard the new song, and they have judged it to be an unacceptable anomaly. Odin instinctively bends to retrieve his spear, his warrior's instincts honed over eons, taking over. But the harmonizer holds up a hand, not to stop him, but to ask him to wait. He turns to face the geometric horror. He feels its immense power, a power that could erase Asgard with a thought. But he also feels its profound, all-consuming fear of the unpredictable nature of life. He does not raise a weapon. He does not erect a shield, holds both Mjölnir and Vind-Hjarta before him, the reconciled hammers humming their perfect balanced chord. Then he does something that defies all strategy, all logic, all reason. He takes a step forward, and he begins to sing. Not with his mind, not with a projection of power, but with his own voice. He sings a simple, ancient folk song. He remembers Jarnsaxa singing to him in the ironwood, a song about the cycle of the seasons, about the beauty of a flower that must die to feed the seed of the next. It is a song of life, death, and rebirth. It is a song of beautiful, messy, imperfect existence. His voice, now free from the need to be a warrior's roar, is clear and true. And into that song he weaves the power of Vind-Hjarta. The melody is carried on a wave of pure, creative healing energy. It washes over the auditor. The being recoils, its geometric form shuddering as if struck. The song is anathema to it. It is a flood of chaotic, emotional, living data that its sterile, logical mind cannot process. But the harmonizer does not stop. He continues to sing, pouring all the love, all the sorrow, all the beauty he has witnessed on his journey into the melody. He is not attacking the auditor. He is offering it a gift, the gift of feeling, the gift of life. Odin watches, his face a mask of stunned disbelief. His son is trying to serenade an apocalypse. But the question that now hangs in the chilling, dissonant air is one of ultimate consequence. Can a song truly be more powerful than a law of physics? Can a melody turn back the tide of entropy? Or is this beautiful, insane act of defiance simply the last note to be played before the entire symphony is silenced forever? The song fills the throne room, a fragile, defiant melody against a backdrop of sterile, cosmic dread. You watch this impossible confrontation. A god armed with a folk song, facing a being that is the living embodiment of universal law. The auditor, the shifting construct of black geometric impossibilities, continues to shudder. Its presence radiates a silent, screaming static of negation, an attempt to cancel out the living, chaotic data of the song. The very air around it seems to flicker, threatening to unexist. The colors of the hall drain away, the vibrant warmth of Asgard being bleached into a stark, monochrome reality. The auditor is not just resisting the song, it is actively erasing the environment that allows the song to exist. Odin, frozen in place, witnesses the futility of the act. His son's beautiful, heartfelt song is being overwritten by a more fundamental power, like a whisper being drowned out by a hurricane. The auditor is not listening. It is correcting what it perceives as an error in the cosmic code. The fear that has guided the All-Father for millennia screams at him that this is the end. His son's naive idealism has doomed them all. He clenches his fist, the urge to intervene, to fight, to do something other than stand here and watch his world be unmade, is almost overwhelming. But then he remembers the vision his son showed him. The feeling of Heimdall's love, of Jarnsaxa's joy, of the auditor's own profound, lonely fear. He looks at his son, standing calm and resolute, continuing his song, even as reality frays around him. And for the first time, Odin makes a choice that is not based on strategy or pragmatism, but on faith. He lets go of his spear. Gungnir, the symbol of his absolute will, dematerializes before it hits the ground. He closes his one good eye, shuts out the terrifying sight of the approaching erasure. And he does the one thing he has never done before. He listens. He listens to his son's song, not as a tactical element, but as a piece of music. He allows himself to feel it. As Odin adds his focused, receptive consciousness to the song, something shifts. The song is no longer a solo performance. It now has an audience of one, but that one is the All-Father, the psychic and magical anchor of the 9 realms. His act of listening, of acceptance, amplifies the song's resonance 1,000-fold. It is no longer just the song of the harmonizer. It is now the song of Asgard itself, a duet between the new truth and the old power. The auditor feels this shift. Song is no longer just a chaotic external signal. It now has a foothold within the very structure of the reality it is trying to erase. The music is coming from inside the house. The being's form flickers violently. For a single, impossible moment, one of its sharp black triangular faces wavers. It's perfect, straight lines blurring into a soft curve. It is a moment of cosmic indecision. The law is absolute, but the beauty of the signal is compelling. It is a logical paradox it cannot immediately resolve. Seeing this flicker of hesitation, the harmonizer changes his approach. He continues to sing, but now he weaves in the power of Mjölnir. He introduces the hammer's core principle, not its destructive force, but its concept of absolute silence, a pure, focused stillness. He alternates notes of vibrant, living song with moments of profound, perfect silence. The melody becomes a pulse, a wave of chaotic, beautiful life, followed by a wave of pure, orderly nothingness. Life, silence, creation, stillness. This is a language the auditor can understand. It is a binary code of existence and non-existence. It is a logical argument presented as a piece of music. The song is no longer just an emotional plea. It is a mathematical proof. It is demonstrating that life and order, chaos and stillness are not mutually exclusive enemies. They are two parts of a single, elegant equation. The beauty is not in the notes themselves, but in the relationship between the notes and the silences. The auditor's form begins to change. The violent shuddering ceases, replaced by a slow, rhythmic pulsing that matches the tempo of the song. The sharp, aggressive angles of its geometric body soften. The absolute blackness of its surfaces begins to show faint, swirling patterns of deep cosmic color. The being is not being defeated, it is being taught. It is learning a new form of logic, a new type of math. The law of entropy is not being broken but expanded. It is learning that the journey from order to chaos does not have to be a one-way street of degradation. It can also be a beautiful cyclical dance. Then, with a final resonant chord that is both triumphant and profoundly peaceful, the auditor does something unprecedented. It communicates. A single, pure mathematical concept is projected into the minds of both the harmonizer and Odin. It is a concept that translates roughly, inadequately, as this is an acceptable variable. To continue observation. And with that, the being dissolves. Not with a violent explosion, but by simply fading out of existence, its form receding back into the fabric of the hall, leaving behind no trace of its presence, except for a lingering feeling of profound analytical curiosity. The harsh, colorless light recedes, and the warm, golden glow of Asgard returns. Now brighter and more vibrant than ever before, the immediate threat is over. The apocalypse has been averted, not by a battle, but by a music lesson. The harmonizer lowers the twin hammers, the song fading back into a gentle hum. He turns to his father. Odin's one eye is open, and for the first time since he lost the other, it is filled not with cunning or fury, but with a quiet, soul-shaking wonder. He has witnessed a miracle, a victory achieved not through strength, but through vulnerability. He has seen a power greater than his own, and it is a power he is a part of. But the question that now hangs in the silent, renewed throne room is no longer one of conflict. It is a question of a new beginning. Now that they have faced the ultimate threat together and discovered a new way, what kind of reality will the father who built the cage and the son who sings the song choose to build together? The silence in the Asgardian throne room is no longer the tense, charged stillness of impending conflict, but the profound, peaceful quiet of a storm that has finally broken. You feel the change in the very air, a new warmth and clarity that has replaced the ancient, oppressive weight of Odin's fear. The All-Father stands before his son, not as a king before a rebel, but as an old man who has just witnessed the foundation of his reality being rewritten by a truth he never had the imagination to conceive. His shoulders, which have carried the weight of the 9 realms for eons, are slumped in a gesture of profound, weary surrender. Chose to be a warden, Odin says, his voice quiet, stripped of its regal thunder. I built a fortress around reality and locked us all inside, believing the wilderness beyond was only filled with monsters. I never believed it could also hold a song. He looks at the harmonizer, his one eye filled with a sorrowful clarity. You have not just defeated the auditor, you have defeated my fear. And in doing so, you have defeated me more completely than any army ever could. He makes a choice, not a strategic one, but a moral one. With a gesture, he dissolves the grand golden armor from his body, leaving him in the simple robes of a wanderer. The All-Father, the king, the warrior, is gone. Only Odin, the seeker of knowledge, remains. The choice is yours now, he says. Not as a son taking over a kingdom, but as a new principle taking root in the cosmos. Do you maintain my lie? Do you keep this power, this new harmony, a secret, using it to quietly mend the seams of the universe, preserving the order I fought to build? Or do you tear down the walls completely? Do you announce this new truth to all of existence and risk the full focused attention of forces we cannot yet comprehend? This is the final choice. The choice between careful, secret maintenance and bold, open transformation. The harmonizer looks at the two hammers in his hands. He feels the silent, steady prison of Mjölnir and the vibrant, boundless freedom of Vind-Hjarta. His answer is not a word, but an action. He turns and walks from the throne room, leaving Odin alone with the echoes of a new reality. He moves through the now vibrant halls of Asgard, his presence a calming wave. The gods and goddesses he passes stare in silent awe. They do not understand what has happened, but they see the being who was once their boisterous, aggressive brother transformed into a figure of serene, immense power. He does not stop until he reaches the very highest peak of Asgard, a spire that touches the swirling void of the cosmos. From here he can see the entirety of Yggdrasil, its branches cradling the realms, its roots deep in the primordial mists. He makes his choice. He chooses the song. He chooses truth. He chooses life in all its messy, unpredictable, beautiful chaos. He will not hide. He will heal openly and honestly. He raises the two hammers high above his head. He brings them together once more, and the perfect, reconciled chord of their union rings out, not just in Asgard, but across all of space and time. He pours his will, his love for Jarnsaxa, his empathy for his father's fear, his hope for a new way into that chord. He sends it out as a pulse, a wave of transformed reality. The sound travels instantly across the 9 realms. It is the new thunder. It is no longer a roar of anger, but a hum of creation. In the fields of Midgard, mortals look up at a storm, and instead of a terrifying crash, they hear a deep, resonant tone that makes the crops grow stronger and calms the hearts of the fearful. This is the origin of the unexplained global phenomenon of brontophonia, or skyquakes, mysterious, gentle booming sounds with no apparent cause, which are now understood to be the benevolent, healing pulse of the cosmos. This new thunder is the ultimate broadcast of his new principle, and it is also a key. The resonant frequency is keyed to the specific magical wards Odin had placed. In a forgotten corner of Jotunheim, the new thunder washes over a small, lonely hut. The ancient spells of stasis holding Jarnsaxa in her sleep cannot resist this perfect, harmonious frequency. They dissolve like mist in the morning sun. Her eyes flutter open. On the Bifrost Bridge, Heimdall hears the new thunder, and the magical compulsion that has bound him to his tragic vigil for millennia shatters. He lowers his horn, a tear tracing a path through the ancient dust on his face. His duty is fulfilled. His sacrifice is honored. He is free. The hammers themselves are now forever changed, a final, quirky detail of their nature revealed. They are no longer two separate objects, but a single, symbiotic system. Mjölnir's new purpose is to act as a tuner. Its core of silence now able to absorb local dissonance, fear, hatred, pain, creating a perfect stillness into which Vind-Hjarta can then sing its song of healing. The destroyer has become the preparer. The cage has become the concert hall. The harmonizer stands on the spire of Asgard, the new thunder still echoing through his being. He has made his choice and reshaped the very sound of power in his universe. A new age has begun. An age not of kings and warriors, but of healers and gardeners. But the final question, the one that will now echo for all eternity, is one for the mortals, the giants, the elves, the gods themselves. Now that the voice of the sky no longer speaks of wrath, but of healing and hope, how will you learn to answer its song? The epic tale of the lost hammer is now at its end, but the age it has ushered in has only just begun. Tension is broken, the great mysteries are solved, and the sound of thunder is now a promise, not a threat. Let the warmth of this new harmony settle over you as the story fades. The rage of the old gods has given way to a wisdom born of compassion. And the conflicts that once seemed eternal have been resolved not by a final battle, but by a simple, beautiful song. You can feel the cosmos breathing a long, slow sigh of relief. The ancient wounds finally beginning to close, the deep-seated fears gently washed away on a tide of resonant peace. In a barren wasteland, a woman awakens from an impossible sleep, her first breath in 1,000 years carrying the scent of a distant, familiar storm. On a rainbow bridge, a guardian lays down his sword, his lonely vigil over at last. The universe is not perfect. The scars remain, but they are no longer weeping. They are now just a part of the beautiful, intricate, and ever-evolving tapestry of existence. Now, let the final images fade. Let the gentle hum of the new reality recede into a peaceful silence, and rest in the knowledge that even the loudest, most terrifying storms can learn to sing a song of creation.